Hello, hello, and welcome. My name is Tom Lelio. I'm your ultimate jet guide. And on this channel, we pull back the curtain on private aviation, whether you're a buyer or a broker. I'm going to help you buy and sell private jets with no experience necessary. Today, we're pulling back the curtain, showing you what it's like to make 100 phone calls in a day. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. As you know, we got the tally. We got the tally up top here, the tally up here. And I'm going to be muting it as I'm making phone calls, but also have some of our YouTube content out there so you can still learn what it's like to be a jet broker. And don't forget to check out the Circle community at circle.jetlifeair.com if you're an aspiring jet broker. Let's get started.
Guys, welcome to the Jet Life Podcast. My name is Tom Lelio. I'm your ultimate jet guy. We're pulling back the curtain today on becoming a broker, and this is
First up,
this is
Texas.
This is a TikTok legend, right? I mean, you got stickers and everything.
We got stickers. Yeah. I got some for you today too.
Oh, very cool. So yeah, if you want to sell a plane via TikTok, this is the guy to talk to. This is Ryan Miguel Aviation. Thanks, man.
Once again, great to talk with you.
Yeah, man. So I just want to hear kind of about your story. You know, a lot of people come to me about wanting to learn how to be a broker. How did you start?
Well, it's really based upon three big things. For me, it was, at least. I went to business school. That was my thing. I knew I wanted to be in sales, and the school I went to happened to have a program in professional selling. So you're selling, high-ticket items. At that point, I didn't know I was going to sell airplanes, but it just sort of worked out that way, to be honest. I was working, again, selling expensive equipment, and then I found an ad for aircraft.
12682. And I'm just calling regarding Charlie Tango. You can call me back at his convenience.
And that was 10 years ago.
And just out of curiosity, I know it's Friday. Would you like to hear a joke?
Just learning the process, going through.
All right. If you next time you go, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. Is your name Brenda?
No, I went straight into the.
Oh, okay. Anyway, next, I'm sorry, I meant to ask your name, but hey, next time you go flying, if the pilot decides to leave work early one day, make sure you grab a parachute too.
And that you trust, and that you can do business with, and that's the fundamentals of it. And
thank you too.
From there, I said,
oh, okay, not my best. With second-told dad joke. I'm going to be trying to get in some dad jokes in today.
Was it just like a work, not necessarily a work environment thing, but what was kind of the catalyst?
Let's see what we got going on.
You do outgrow it, and there does come a point where you say, I can do this. Yep. And having, again, a good base, good mentors, people that you like and trust, is the fundamental of this business. You cannot do it alone. Period.
I get it. So
that's one. That's the hardest one right there. The hardest call right there.
Where did you start?
What's up, Tate? Hey, Rowdy, Rouser, Rarin. What's going on, guys? Good to see you. So we're calling through 100 dials today and telling some jokes. Okay, I know this guy just bought it, but we're gonna do it anyway because I got to get the 100 calls. You never know. You never know.
3 months into making TikToks, my first client from there called me and said, hey, I want you to help me buy my first plane. I'm like, this might work.
Wow, 3 months into it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was sort of the beginning of it, and it's just grown from there. And it is everything from Cessna 150s, all the way up to Citations in Gulfstreams.
That's a company line. We're gonna count it though.
That are on social media.
Do you think TikTok and social media trend towards general aviation?
This is it though. We just got to keep moving. Just got to keep moving.
It is a general aviation. Number one, there's just less people in the
Argentina.
World. So you're
Vamos Argentina.
Applying yourself to a very small clientele. But I have people that I've helped with.
And guys, don't forget, while you're hanging out with me today, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you want to just go ahead and put them in the comments. San Antonio. Let's call the pilot, see what he's got. Sorry for the interruption. I just had the opportunity to speak with Jason Zilberbram over at VREF, and they are launching their brand new VREF 3.0. VREF is the trusted resource that many lenders will use to provide a valuation on an aircraft. With 3.0, they're introducing a more mobile-friendly interface You're going to be able to connect with brokers and owners. You're going to be able to get instant valuations. You're going to be able to find out information about aircraft that are currently for sale and historical data as well. Whether you're a broker or a buyer, having access to reliable information when it comes to market trends and it comes to aircraft valuations is extremely important. So if you want to check it out and even get 10% off, you can go to go.theultimatejetguide.com/VREF for more information. Thank you so much, VREF, for sponsoring this video.
What do you say to someone who's thinking about maybe doing it part-time? What does that look like? And you're like, I know you didn't do it. I didn't do it. So I kind of struggle to kind of say much to people. But what are your kind of thoughts?
It's one of those, it's a business where you almost have to always be available. So part-time has its challenges, unless you set expectations, and that's not something I've ever had to encounter. But doing it part-time will possess challenges because people expect you to be available.
Yeah.
And it is, this is a service business. And, especially as you get into higher end, nicer airplanes, people have higher expectations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you have any tips for anyone who's looking to be a broker as far as social media is concerned? Is it just post and post and post, but do you have a strategy, or like what are some tips that you would have for somebody on social media?
It is so new. I don't think anybody really has a strategy. Let's just try it, throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. And the verb is you're going to suck when you first start at it. And you're going to look back and go, that's cringeworthy. And that's what you want to feel. Yeah. Because that means you're growing, you're getting better, and you're seeing progress.
Okay, gotcha. Would you, if you were starting full-time and you were cold calling versus social media, I think it's a both and. I struggle with, sometimes I see guys, they spend too much time on the social media because the direct path or the quickest path to a sale or a listing is cold calling, in my opinion. How can you speak into that, about that balance? Because you're building your own brand on social media, which takes time, but you also need to like pay the bills now.
For sure. No, a good base is very important. Getting into this business, having enough cash flow so you're not undercapitalized 3 months in. I know it takes about 2 to 3 months to sell your first plane. And having that cash flow is going to be.
So you see, like, we're 3 calls in, we're just moving right along. And this is what we need to be doing. Canada, next. Okay, here's one. Here's in California. They're a broker. Nope. Next. Argentina, next. New Haven, Connecticut. I know this guy. Yeah, he hangs up on people.
You just gotta shake it off, right? But you just have to shake it off, and you have to fix.
All right, we're gonna swing for the fences on this one.
And be patient. So it's just leveraging. When do I say social media is a good portion of my content? And probably 80-20 to start. 80% cold call, 20%.
So now, are you mostly social media now?
I focus mainly on social media. I've been doing it long enough where I do have a pretty good base. My Rolodex, so to speak, is robust enough where I'm not having to pound the pavement and do the boiler room.
Yeah, no, I get it. I probably did about a year before I got into social media, and then I still do. I did a review. I probably do more social media than I should, but I think I'm still playing the long term. So that's right. Well, thanks a lot, Ryan, for being here. Where can people find you if they are buying a plane, or how's it go?
McGill Aviation on Instagram, McGill Aviation on TikTok. You can find me there. Post new videos every day, airplane reviews, all sorts of fun stuff.
Great. Thanks a lot, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
So what's the biggest tax bill that you've seen, just because someone maybe didn't know any better or they didn't file out the paper? All right, that one was the last one had notes that said this guy's going to hang up.
But for example, if someone was purchasing an aircraft, let's just
Hey, Tom, what's up, Peter?
Purchase price.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate that.
Let's say they're based in California and they closed in Montana, so they think they are good to go. They close somewhere with no sales tax, but they fly the plane.
Appreciate it. What's going on over on Instagram?
In California, that could be a
Hey, Tom, who you calling?
Use tax liability before interest and penalty. So
we are calling Citation 5 owners today. I don't know why that's so.
Hello,
all right, next up.
Welcome to the Jet Life Podcast. My name
is Gabe.
I'm your ultimate jet guide. Today we're pulling back the curtain on private aviation to talk about taxes. Saving you guys
Laura
money, and we're here with KJ McCarty with aviation tax consultants. KJ,
this is the wrong number. Okay, we're gonna go next.
Today. Yeah, thank you for having me.
So let's get right into it. What's the deal with taxes in aviation? Like, it feels like
it's not for sale. Hung up on.
You should be able to
Game
afford,
on.
Paying your taxes or whatever. But I guess the first question I have is,
oops.
who pays taxes when it comes
we
to
go.
an aviation transaction? What's the deal with taxes when it comes to private jets?
Yeah, generally, as far as the sales and use tax and personal property tax
Voicemails.
liabilities go, those are in the buyer's court. There can be
Mm.
some obligation for the seller to have to collect sales tax.
Craig, Tom with Jet Life Aero. Good morning. Happy Friday. I know you probably get these calls all the time regarding Charlie. Charlie, I'm not here to waste your time. Just hoping to catch you on the right time. And Fridays, people are usually in a pretty good mood. So I wanted to see if you guys are looking to make any changes with the Citation 5. This year, we currently have serial number 225 November. 701 Hotel Lima listed for sale on the market. I'm looking to bring a few more fives to the market in the coming weeks, or at least put a few off-market options in front of our buyers. So if you guys have thought about making a change with your Citation 5, I would love an opportunity to speak with you, tell you what the market's doing, tell you what it might be worth, and just give you some information so you can make an informed decision on what you want to do moving forward with your aviation. Again, my name is Tom with Jet Life Aero. Call me back at your convenience, 941-241-2682. Have a great day. Boom, baby.
Obligation to collect the tax from the
Boom,
buyer.
boom, boom,
and then send
boom.
it
Let's
into the state.
roll.
So it's still the buyer
Oh.
paying. Seller just
Left
on the hook
voicemail.
from the state to ask about.
And
the
then
tax
after I do the
amount.
voicemail, after I do the note,
But
that's when I
generally, closing
tally it.
occurs somewhere neutral. Then it's really all
All right,
on
we're
buyer
5
for the
calls
most
in.
part.
Let's
Gotcha.
go.
Okay,
Let's
great.
go.
So taxes are the buyer's
Okay.
responsibility.
Abdullah.
Let's talk a little
Fresh
about
overall going to paying keep
aviation
for now.
tax consultants.
Abdullah.
Let's talk about your company. So tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Can you briefly explain what you're trying to
you guys
achieve? Do you want to buy the
and,
aircraft or trying to sell them in your listings? Or you have a
what
client who's looking for a
your expertise is
citation?
in.
Awesome, awesome. So we got a
Yeah,
question.
So our firm is
Whoops.
Aviation Tax Consultants. We've been in this space for a little over 20
Let me
years
see if I
now.
can send
We
this,
celebrate
show this to everybody.
our 20th anniversary in November of last year. And aircraft tax planning is literally all that we do.
All
All of
right,
our
so we
clients
got a
do aircraft.
question.
We don't do any other
Can you
tax
explain what
planning.
we're trying to achieve? So basically, when we're cold calling, what we're doing is,
Tax returns. So
and
we're
I
not
want to make a
your
note of this.
typical CPA firm. We just act as advisors and consultants on.
So when we're making
aviation
cold calls,
tax
what we're
liability.
trying to achieve is we're trying to,
So all of
hold
our
on, let me
clients have
pause
their own
this too, so you guys
CPAs
don't have
as
to
well.
listen
They're
to.
designed to
Okay. So when we're making cold calls, what we're basically trying to achieve is we're trying to see if there's somebody out there who's wanting to sell their aircraft and they're looking for aircraft broker services. That's the number one goal. So most are not going to want that. 99% of the people we're calling are not going to want to sell their airplane and are not looking for a broker. We're looking for the one that does. If they don't, if they're not looking to sell and they're not looking for a broker, the next thing we're looking to do is just to make an introduction, because they get these calls all the time. So when we introduce ourselves and we can make a name for ourselves and we can follow up with them and build rapport when they are ready to sell, then they'll come back and they'll talk with us and work. And I've had people that I had to, build relationships over years before they came back and finally decided to sell with me. I've had people come back to me after 2 years wanting to sell and then decide not to sell, and then 6 months later come back again to sell. So it's kind of crazy. So we don't want to buy their aircraft. We're trying to allow them to let us list their aircraft for sale. In this case, because I'm calling through the Citation 5s, we do have a 5 that's listed for sale, but it's not the right fit for all of our buyers. So I will tell them I'm also willing to put their aircraft in front of our buyers off market, so without having to list it. So if they're open to selling, but they don't want to put it on controller, we have buyers that are interested in aircraft, but we haven't put them somewhere yet. So that's exactly what we're doing today. Moving on. Next. All right. Okay. They just got a call 2 weeks ago. We'll move on just in the sake of time. Cleaning company. Not for sale. They got a PC-24. Nice. So if we've called someone and they said it's not for sale within the last month or so, I'm not gonna push. Not for sale about a week ago. Let's see if this answers. All right. All right, we're on 6. All right. Boom. All right, another great question from the comments. Peter's asking, where do we get the list of prospects? So there's databases that are out there that you basically have to pay for, and you have to be you have to be an approved broker. You can't just like show up and be like, hey, I just feel like buying your product. They actually vet, and there's an application process to be a part of this dealer database. The dealer database that we use is called JetNet. And I highly recommend you check them out. I'll put up a link in the description, go.theultimatejetguide.com/jetnet. But definitely you can check that out. And it has some contact information for people who own private jets. And that's where we get our call list from. All right, next up.
To work with those CPAs on these matters. And our client CPAs generally love us because we come in, we have all the answers to these somewhat confusing tax questions related to aircraft. We've done this thousands of times, and we can ensure all goes smoothly. And many of our client CPAs haven't dealt with very many planes at all, so they're a little bit uncomfortable. We can come in and help ease their concerns because we've done this so many times.
No, I love that, and I appreciate that you work with you work with the team that's already there. So many times people think about it and they're like, "Oh no, I need to get an aviation account, and that needs to like be a whole."
Guys on the
separate
West
thing.
Coast could be a
You
bad
guys
thing.
work hand in
7
glove
a.m. there.
with the team that's already present. It looks like, just by looking at the website, it looks like it's kind of like a family operation, and so I guess my question, or how did you get involved personally when it comes to aviation?
Yeah, so Daniel Chung and my dad, Fred McCarter, founded the company a little over 20 years ago. So that's how I got involved. I grew up around it. My dad was a private pilot. We flew around in an SR-22 actually for a few years. So grew up in the space and then ended up becoming a CPA. So that's how I got involved.
Cool.
And Daniel's been in this space for even a bit longer, maybe 25-ish years now. And Daniel's son, Cody Chung, actually works with us as well. So it's kind of a family business on both sides.
I love that. That's very cool. So let me ask you this: or when should people start talking with a aviation tax consultant? Should it be when they're starting to buy a jet? Should it be when they want to sell their jet? Should it be the day before closing? You advise people to get in touch with you.
That is an excellent question, and the answer is absolutely before.
Moving along.
And hopefully about a month or so prior to closing is kind of that
20 minutes in, we made 7
calls
calls.
that are
Let's see how long it
day
takes us to
before
get to
closing,
10.
or even a couple
Now you'll
days
notice
before
most of
closing.
these are voicemails, and that's the majority of what you're going to get. If you're going to make 100 calls a day, it's a lot. Excuse me, a lot of it's going to be voicemails.
A month or so
That's okay. That's
prior to
okay.
closing. And why that
Yeah.
matters is how the
Okay.
plane
These
is
guys, they're
titled
not going to
is
do anything.
critical to the income tax.
All right, let's try this
How the
guy.
plane's reported for
We
IRS.
just bought it last year, but maybe they're sick of it.
So we want to have some say and collaborate with our clients and their CPAs on how the plane's going to be titled. And then we also want to talk about where we're going to close. That's really important. And how we're going to prepare for the potential use tax liability that buyer will have in the state where they'll base the plane.
Gotcha. So how the plane is titled is going to be critical. Can you, just because it's like kind of like titled is kind of I don't know how to explain it, but like maybe like a industry term. What does that mean? How the plane is titled? Does that mean on the FAA registration? Does that mean on the bill of sale? Does that mean on the aircraft purchase agreement? Does that mean on all the documents? Or what are we looking like? What are we looking for when you say that how the airplane is titled is critical?
Yeah, really what I'm referring to there is how is the plane ultimately owned? Almost everyone buying a private jet, for example, is going to own the plane in a special purpose entity. So it'll be some LLC that just holds title to the plane, probably not their operating company directly. So the FAA registration will show this LLC that's, for example, maybe it's just the tail number of the plane, LLC. Doesn't really do anything besides hold title to the plane. What we care about a lot from a tax planning perspective is
All right.
what entity then owns that LLC. where are the deductions from
8.
the plane going to flow and be reported?
So we usually tell people we average about 20 calls an hour.
If it's done improperly,
And obviously part of the problem for me here is
much more difficult to support. And two, it can also
I
draw
am
attention
talking to y'all.
from an income tax reporting perspective because
But I do this
it's kind
because
of
I'm
sticking out like a sore thumb, if you will.
Mm.
We like to have the opportunity, like I said, maybe a month or so prior to closing, to chat with the buyer and their CPA about which entity should own that aircraft special purpose entity, so we can get a plan in place.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my screen here, and if you can just kind of walk me through, because I'm not an aviation tax person, and so I want to walk through what does it look like. So let's see. Okay, so here's the November. Let's see. Let's do it like this. Oops.
Come on, need a voicemail.
I'm going to show you the entity. Or this is November 1, 2, 3, Tango Lima. Okay, so this is the entity that owns the plane, right? So here's the plane, like my little jet. Okay. So that entity owns the plane. So this entity is going to be charged with taxes, correct? And that's where we get into sales and use tax, right?
Right. That entity, the purchasing entity, would be responsible for the sales and use tax on the plane.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so this is the purchasing entity. Now that we're dealing with, okay, so purchasing entity is responsible for taxes. So now that we have the purchasing, now that we're dealing with a private jet here, most people will have this company just by itself and pay taxes, or you're saying it's usually under another company that's also going to be responsible. Like, how does this work? I guess my question.
That's two new answers.
Yeah.
All right.
So if
Another
the buyer is
question.
dealing with an aviation tax professional like our firm or a firm similar to ours,
Are all the leads that we're calling right now, are they listed for sale? No. So what we're trying to do here, and when you first get started, the model that I teach is list and sell. We're taking a list of owners. These are just owners. They haven't said they want to sell. They're not saying it's for sale. We don't know much about them other than the fact that they own a jet. Now, on the database, it'll tell us if it's listed for sale on the market, but we're calling everybody. So within the citation 5 marketplace, I don't see, there's probably at least 200 or so records, right? And so we're calling all of them. And so it's really hard because you're basically calling up a random stranger and be like, hey, you don't know me, but let me list your almost $2 million asset for you. So it's really difficult. So you have to catch someone that is ready to sell and is looking for a broker. So that's a very small percentage of people. And then not only that, but you have to get them to know, like, and trust you. And if they're not ready to sell and they're not looking for a broker, you have to just stay in touch with them and build a relationship over the phone via, and then after, follow up via email and all this kind of stuff. So how do you build a relationship with somebody you've never known so they trust you with an asset that costs almost $2 million? That's the challenge of how to become a jet broker. And that's exactly why we started the Jet Life Circle community, so that people can learn the soft skills, so people can encourage one another, because you're facing disappointments a lot. You're like, I'm going to make 100 calls. And then it turns out you made like 80 voicemails, talked to, 19 secretaries and left a message. And one guy answered the phone and he told you to F off. That's a frustrating day, but we're moving forward. We're really close. All right, let's get to 10. We just got to get to 10. I do it in groups of 10. Once I get 10, I feel much better about it. And then we move forward. Delaware. Let's go Delaware.
And we like that. That's the reason why we set it up this way.
Oh, another great question.
And it has questions about the plane.
Oops, let me get you guys off here.
Audit, we would really be auditing the tax return of operating company, and purchasing entity would just be within that. It's being reported on the same tax return as if the plane was owned by operating company.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, the state bill is going to go to the purchasing entity, and then the IRS is going to expect the operating company to be responsible for, like, paying the bill, basically.
Yeah, well, the bill from the state, that sales and use tax, that would come from purchasing entity.
Right. And
then
the IRS
would audit this operating company. it would all be on one tax return, operating company's tax
Yes,
return.
that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. All right. No, that makes. Yeah, that I'm with you. I'm with you now. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the difference between sales tax versus. I think that's kind of the natural next step as far as how aircraft taxes work. It's the buyer's responsibility. There may be a responsibility of the seller to inform or collect, depending on what's going on.
Got another great question from Instagram. Thanks so much for joining us, guys, on Instagram.
It's not just like, okay, I'm buying a car, I just have sales tax, or I'm buying a shirt, I just have sales tax. There's
All right. How do you choose who's worth calling and who is not? So as we're going through the list, I'm trying to move as fast as I can today. So I don't call brokers. I don't call if it's for sale. I don't call charter companies and management companies. I don't call outside of the United States. I mean, those are the 4 things that I just need to get through everything. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. A lot of times people will get stuck on, they find it, they'll start Googling people, try to find their, better contact information, whatever. I'm about the volume. Not to say that those things are bad, but this is just what worked for me. And that's what I do. So that's who we decide who to call. If they just bought it, I will call them and just make a joke out of it. Like, hey, you sick of it yet? And just let them know, I know, you're probably not going to do it right now. Or if we just called them last week and they said it wasn't for sale, I'm not going to call them back until I'm going to give it more time to breathe. So those are some of the criteria that we use when we're thinking about should we call someone or not.
We can move the plane somewhere where we are comfortable closing. So Indiana, for example.
More comments. Boom. How do you start the call when somebody answers? Aka Majibio. What's up, man? What's up, bro? How do you start when you're just calling, hey, we have a greeting? So I know what I'm going to say every single time somebody answers the phone. Bob, Tom with Jet Life Aero. Good morning. They're going to say good morning. Hey, I just wanted to reach out to you. Not sure if it makes sense for us to talk about 123 Delta Zulu, but I got it pulled up on my screen, and I wanted to see if you guys are thinking about making any changes this year. No, probably not. Oh, great. No, I'm with you 100%. A lot of people I'm calling today are not interested for one reason or another. Just out of curiosity, what got you into the Citation 5? Is this your first jet? See how I've got a flow. We've got the framework of a sales call. It's the greeting, the fact finding, the demo, the close. Okay, that is our framework. And within that, we've got different lines that we use based on what they're saying. It's a flow. It's an overview. It's a map. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna give you guys a favor. Check this out. This is an example of our flow. We've got our greeting, what we're going to say. So you can see that up here. And if they say yes, we go into fact finding and our demo and our close. If they get cranky and they're not happy, we say stuff. But if you want something like this, go to circle.jetlifeaero.com and click on the free course, How to Become a Broker with No Experience Necessary. And you'll find it all there. So again, go to circle.jetlifeaero.com. You can also go to theultimatejetguy.com for more information. But yeah, that's what we do.
Florida does have a flyaway exemption. It requires a bit more paperwork than other states.
What's up, Logan?
Not the most unfriendly, but it's not the friendliest or easiest to comply with either.
Randall.
So if that's the case, there's more tax-friendly states. Well, that's kind of an interesting ticker thing. My question was, what is a rough estimate of sales tax rate? How much am I really saving? If I'm paying $10 million for a jet,
in the house in Instagram,
10 grand, to pay taxes, then maybe I'll just close there instead of having to relocate the aircraft and spend 10 grand in fuel. It just doesn't make sense to move it.
Yeah, it varies from state to state what that rate may be, but on a $10 million aircraft, a typical sales tax rate's probably somewhere between 5% and let's say 9 or 10% on the high side.
Oh, wow.
So a much larger liability almost always makes sense to move the aircraft. Now there are some states that cap sales tax. So like a South Carolina or a North Carolina, they both cap their sales tax on aircraft at very low numbers, 500 for South Carolina, for example. So in those cases, yeah, we wouldn't propose moving the plane if it's sitting in South Carolina. It's kind of on a case-by-case basis, but definitely.
Hey, Randall, it's Tom with Jet Life Aero. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. I know my colleague Kevin spoke with you earlier this week on Tango Delta. I know you're not currently looking to list it for sale, but I'm just kind of going through the market today, and I saw your name. I'm like, hey, let me give him a buzz. So happy Friday to you. Let me leave you with a joke or two. actually, it's kind of funny. Like, do you know what happens when you tell a bad jet joke? It never lands. So I hope you have a great Friday, man, and I'll talk to you later.
Is generally the same rate as sales tax.
All right, we're working on the jokes. They're not my best, but
Florida as an example again.
see what we can do
where the
here.
sales
Let's
tax
take another
statewide
tally.
Is 6% plus maybe some local. in the
All right,
US
so we're
30
30 minutes in. We got 11 calls, so we're on pace for that 20
let's say
calls in an
residents
hour.
are used to playing in Kansas. They're all excited. They met a sales tax liability or a sales tax exemption, excuse me, from Kansas sales tax. They didn't have to pay any sales tax at closing. They fly home to Florida, and then some period of time passes, and they get a letter from Florida.
Jackass
6%
Ranch.
use tax on their $10 million jet. So it's a $600,000 liability plus interest and penalties. And they say, wait a second, no, this can't be. I closed in Kansas. Unfortunately, they're mistaken. Florida absolutely can impose use tax because the plane is based and hangared there, and they're in some trouble there now. So the use tax planning is absolutely critical as well ahead of purchase. And most states have a variety of exemptions that can potentially apply. So it's really important to do proactive planning. You shouldn't, in most states, have to pay that $600,000 up front. There are some where you would. There are many others where you would not.
Well, after this recording, I'm gonna have to call you. I got one of those letters that said, "Hey Tom, you owe us money." So glad that you're bringing it up now. We'll definitely have to take a look at that. And so, okay, so now if we have sales tax, we've got use tax. Is it possible for someone to pay both, or do you only pay one or the other, or it depends on how you're playing the game? Like, what is that? How do they relate to each other, if at all?
Generally, it's one or the other. You'll be given credit if you pay one towards the other. So you generally are not double whammied, if you will.
All right, hung up on. That's okay. Not for sale was in a rush. Tried to tell him a joke. So he said he wasn't interested. I moved right into, hey, I get you. Just out of curiosity, what did you upgrade from? Although I said it wrong. I said, did you have a jet before this? Like I gave him a yes or no answer, which was just like, duh, you idiot. Okay, what's the story here?
Depends on the statute, but that's generally what we see.
So just to be clear, what exactly is a flyaway state? I don't know if we actually defined it. We kind of alluded to
Rue Reddy's in the house on Instagram.
Our viewers can get an understanding.
Don't forget, guys, if you have any questions,
Flyaway state
comments, I'm happy to answer them throughout the day.
Exemption that specifies if you close here, but you are not going to base the plane here, you're not a resident here. Basically, you're just picking up the plane and then leaving to go base the plane wherever you actually live. Then we're not going to charge you sales tax on the purchase price of the plane. Okay. The actual requirements in the statute vary from state to state, but that's the general principle of a flyaway.
Are you ready? Not.
Gotcha. Okay, so I can't be a resident. I can't. What about a business? What if I have a business in Kansas? Does that count?
That varies from state to state. Some states, any amount of nexus can cause that exemption to not apply. Some states it's easier to have a little bit of nexus. Maybe you have a property there.
Mailbox is full. Did I write? I don't think I checked on the last one. So
what's actually in the tax law itself, and that's something we have to evaluate.
So that's 2. Woo-hoo, I like when that happens. When I forget sometimes.
Generally, the principle is if you don't have ties there, plane's not going to be based there. It's just you're picking up the plane, leaving. No sales tax will be due if that's a flyaway state.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, KJ, this is awesome stuff. We still have a lot to talk about. We still need to talk about tax planning and, of course, depreciation, the word of the hour. But before we get into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to our Circle community. So we'll be right back.
Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, go to circle.jetlifearrow.com and check out our online community for aspiring brokers and current brokers. Here you'll find discussions, all things aviations based, things that you're going to want to know as an aircraft broker. You can also check out our free training as well as more resources that are available to help you to become a better jet broker. That's circle.jetlifearrow.com to begin your journey within the broker community absolutely free.
All
All
right,
right, and
very
we're back
small
with KJ
flow.
McCarter from Aviation Tax Consultants. Thanks so much again for joining us. We just went through a great understanding of taxes in general, sales tax versus use tax, what you need to know if you're buying or selling your aircraft. Let's get into the big word of the year, or at least of the past couple of years, is depreciation. So the MBAA is a great site for depreciation, so you can kind of understand it. I mean, there's a whole modified accelerated cost recovery system, MACRIS, which I didn't even try to check that out. Depreciation schedules, bonus depreciation, lots of words, lots of buzzwords and things that have been going on.
All right.
I
Let's
think
see.
is when it kind of kicked in this idea of this bonus depreciation. So why don't you explain?
Okay, this is an office, and it's in California. So it's an office, which is not. It's California, which is not ideal.
Tax-wise, or what was some of the reasons that
But
people would buy a private jet
we'll just
for
go ahead
tax
and leave a message,
purposes?
probably.
How does it apply to depreciation?
Yeah, absolutely. So the past few years, we've actually had 100% bonus depreciation until 2023 when it phased down to 80%. And now in 2024, it's phased down to 60%. But what that really means is bonus depreciation allows us to depreciate more of the plane in year one than the typical depreciation schedule. And that's very intriguing for buyers who have lots of taxable income because it allows them to reduce their tax bill substantially in the year they buy the plane and place it in service. So for example, in 2022, if you bought a plane, let's say you had $15 million of taxable income, you bought a $10 million plane, we had 100% bonus depreciation then, so you could write off the full $10 million. In 22, take your taxable income down to $5 million.
You also get a lot of
So
good.
very tax savings available in that scenario in 22.
Now you were always able to depreciate the asset, correct? Just like you would like a business car or something like that. But now we can do, or at least when it first started, it was 100% for a number of years, and then started dwindling down. 2023 was 80%. 2024 we're down to 60%, I believe, and it'll phase itself out potentially. We'll talk about it in a minute. But you could always depreciate it, even after this thing. If this bill dies, you'll still be able to depreciate your private jet, right?
Exactly. Yes. So the normal depreciation schedule for let's say a Part 91 plane is a 5-year maker schedule, or a 6-year straight line schedule. So it's still relatively short, and that's what we'll have if bonus depreciation truly does gradually phase down. We'll go back to being able to use 5-year makers and depreciate the
think
aircraft
it hung up.
time.
But that was an interesting one.
Not really, the bonus is kind of a misnomer. It's not, you're not getting anything additional, you're getting it faster, earlier.
Oh boy.
And is that why sometimes people will call it accelerated?
That was weird. Okay. I don't know how we
are they two different things?
Same thing. Bonus
that was weird.
is a type of accelerated.
Okay, let me just. All right, so that was interesting because two things.
When we're talking about this, what else can I write off?
Just a couple things real quick.
No, so
some people are asking, like, where do we get the list? We get the list from a service called JetNet. JetNet is a service that's only for private jet brokers. And so we use that service, and it allows us to get information for people who own private jets. That's the easiest way to put it. What was interesting about that last call is when I looked at my notes on JetNet, it said voicemail, voicemail, voicemail. And I knew it was early on that I was probably going to get the directory. So I hit 0 for the operator. Well, first the directory said, if you know the party's 4-digit extension. I don't. So I went to the secretary, or the operator. And I said, hey, listen, I'm trying to get a hold of Mark. What is his extension? And she gave me his extension. So now when I call and ask for the extension, boom, I can hit it. That makes it a lot quicker. So don't be afraid to ask, what's your extension? Another thing I'll do, I'll say, hey, if they're transferring me, hey, just out of curiosity, what's the extension in case I get disconnected? And sometimes that'll help. Tires lives in Naples, so not for sale. George. George is in Texas. Let's see.
So the beauty of it is all of the aircraft related operating expenses essentially go into a bucket to potentially be deductible. So fuel, hangar fees, maintenance expense, every aircraft related expense goes into a bucket which can potentially be deductible. And if you fly 100% for business,
15 calls in.
all those expenses can be deductible and can reduce taxable income in the year.
42 minutes, 15 calls in. See, 20. So
You
5
brought up a
hours.
really interesting point. You
If
said
I'm
that
getting
if
mostly
you're flying 100%
voicemails.
for business. Let's take a big step back here. If I'm just going to use this aircraft for
Ooh,
personal
somebody
use,
just bought this
do I have depreciation? Do I have bonus depreciation?
in March. I'm
Does
not
it
going to
matter
call
if I use
them.
it personally or for business?
If it's all personal use, then the income tax discussion related to depreciation and writing off
Nebraska.
expenses,
So the nice thing about our
there will be
software we use for calls is it's only 10 o'clock in Nebraska. Nebraska's in the same. Oh, wait, this.
there's not much of a discussion to be had there. Still need to talk about the
Yeah,
sales
let's
use
try it.
tax piece because that's still relevant and personal property tax as well. But the income tax piece, it's kind of like a personal car at that point. Where these items are relevant and matter is for a business owner buying a plane to fly around for their own business purposes. And they can have some personal use too. We can talk about that. It's okay to have a mixture of business and personal use as long as we account for it correctly. And it's essentially those expenses become prorated based on a calculation of how the aircraft is used.
Gotcha. Now that makes a lot of sense. So it's got to be for business use, which is interesting. And of course, as a aviation consultant, you can help demystify what business use means and how it can apply or and be creative in that regard, based on the letter of the law, obviously. And so, okay, so we can depreciate it as long as we're using it for business use. I'm with you 100% there. So yeah, the costs, acquisition costs, the operating costs, the fixed costs, depending on what percentage you were doing for business. Okay, yeah, no, I'm with you. Is there anything in there that you want to highlight for our viewers?
Yeah,
Let's
I can quickly
see.
touch on the kind of business versus personal use breakdown and really what that impacts. So as you mentioned, in the
45 minutes.
the expenses are basically prorated based on how much of the use of the plane is for business purposes and how much is for really entertainment purposes, which cannot be deductible under the current tax code. So the IRS requires us in most scenarios to do basically a weighted seat hour calculation. And they want to know who's on board and why. So for example, let's say there was the owner of the plane was flying somewhere for a business meeting and was bringing along 3 of their family members who were coming along and they were just going to go to the beach during that business meeting. So we have 1 business passenger, 3 what we would call personal entertainment passengers on that flight. We have to do a weighted seat hour calculation to essentially not deduct 75% of that use.
Oh,
So
wow.
we do that on the whole year basis using the finalized flight log, and that percentage is what we use to apply to those expenses to figure out what's deductible and what's not deductible. And similar rules apply with the depreciation, although it can be a slightly different calculation.
Gotcha. That's wow. That's really.
What are we
great
doing?
color.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Chad.
I get
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
It's called job security for you.
Exactly, and that's what I was about to bring up. The rules are kind of confusing here. So if a buyer goes out and tries to figure this
Logan,
out,
I see your message. I'll get to you in a second.
may have never accounted for a plane before, they may get it wrong, or they may not even realize they have these requirements. So that's a big part of our value. We know exactly what the rules are and how to apply them to the buyer situation.
That makes sense. So what about closing as far as dates go? I know I kind of jumped around a second, but I was curious about if you're coming to the end of the year, can I buy a jet? Do I have to fly it in the year for it to count for this year's depreciation? Can I buy it and then not fly it? Do I have to fly it? Like, what does the government count as? Okay, now is when you own it, you've used it for business, and you've qualified for bonus depreciation. I remember that being kind of a topic for people because they would buy it, but they didn't fly it, and they were rushing to get a flight in real quick, on New Year's Eve for business purposes. So that it would qualify. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, excellent question. A plane does have to be placed in service in a given tax year for it to be depreciated in that tax year. So what that means is, let's say you closed on a plane on December 31st, and then it didn't fly. The plane was not ready and available for its intended use. You closed, and then the year ended, and that was it. The IRS would have a pretty strong argument to say, hey, that plane is not placed in service in that tax year, and it can't be depreciated until next year.
Mm-hmm.
So
is placed in service just taking a flight?
That's the best way to place a plane in service, is use it actually for a legitimate business mission.
Sounds to be working. Let me know if sound's not working, guys.
The plane was, in fact, ready and available for its intended use, which is the definition of placed in service, because it was used for that. It can get a little bit more gray. Let's say in another scenario,
Captain at Pilots Academy's here. What's up, Captain?
On December 31st, and then it repositions back to base, but that's the only flight. Taxpayer may have an argument that the plane was ready and available for its intended use because it was capable of flying, but the IRS may try to challenge that. So when possible, we always like to see a business flight before year end. That's what we advise our clients to do. Some situations don't allow for that, but there's some gray in between there for sure.
Always love operating in the gray, for sure. Great. Well, hey, we're kind of starting to wrap up. We're just going to kind of close on some tax planning items. What are some tips or some piece of advice that you would have when it comes to, closing to minimize tax exposure, tax planning? Like, I guess, kind of overall.
Coming up on the 1 hour mark, I'm pulling up to see what my guys are doing. Tom Lully on the Daily Grind. That's right. Thank you, Airtime with Tony. You guys haven't already checked out Airtime with Tony. This is a great, if you just like enjoy,
I would say
aviation. Airtime with Tony is local in Sarasota, and he flies these amazing, some aerobatics and He's looking to do his
all of these
get a
things
military
that
jet. He's just got a lot going on, so
your exact
it's pretty cool.
So
It's pretty
everything
cool.
we talk
Oh,
about
this came on the
is at an
market.
extremely high level. We can go granular with
These are slow.
you,
So yeah, check out Airtime with Tony on
and
YouTube.
advise you of what kind of sales tax planning, use tax planning,
All
personal
right,
property
let's
tax,
see.
income tax planning we can help with.
No
So
phone
you gotta
number,
be
just
educated.
bought.
It's so important to
Georgia.
proactively handle these items.
Not for sale.
So you
Not for
can
sale about 2 weeks ago,
make
so we're not going to call him.
these things. So that's the one actionable item. Email me, give me a call.
Jimmy in Oklahoma, not for sale. Brazil.
And how we may be able to help.
Wellington. Sharon is happy with it. Not for sale.
It sounds like if I owe the government $1 million in taxes, whether I pay it at the time of the sale or I pay it because
Oh, okay. They just
I do a flyaway
bought
sale,
it.
I'm still kind of paying $1 million.
Oh, it was for
Are
sale
there
and they
any
just bought it.
ways- obviously, we can get creative with the sales
Oh, this
tax,
one's
with the
fun.
flyaway state, but what about
I
the
know
use
this one.
tax? Are you aware of certain avenues that can help someone mitigate the use
That one
tax
almost
as
was for
well?
sale. It just takes a while to get to the
Great question, and the answer is yes.
Chris, Venezuela. So see, I have to like go through a bunch sometimes to.
Eliminate, be exempt completely from that use tax liability in the state where the plane is based, or maybe
All right, let's try this one.
spread it out. So
Just because I want to try to get 20 in the hour. We're at 17.
Plane potentially having $1 million use tax liability in California if the buyer's caught off guard. But for example, if they work with us or another aviation tax professional, there's a very friendly exemption in California actually that could allow them to be completely exempt from California use tax based on out-of-state business use. So almost all of our clients are completely exempt from California use tax. They save that million and proactively submit that exemption to CDTFA. And there's lots of states that have these very surprisingly friendly exemptions from aircraft use tax. For example, Texas too. Their use tax is pretty high, can be as high as 8.25%, but they offer an exemption based on out-of-state departures in the year following purchase. So again, almost all of our clients are exempt from that Texas use tax on the purchase price of the plane. And Florida and Indiana and a whole host of other states also offer friendly exemptions. The important piece is to evaluate those options prior to closing, because a lot of these have actionable items that need to be done before closing occurs. So in addition to finding a sales tax friendly state, we need to be thinking about meeting a use tax exemption of some sort in the state where the plane's going to be based.
That makes a lot of sense. And again, like I said, for you, it's job security. It's knowing, which states and the statutes and the laws and everything that allow.
Yes, it finally got a joke that landed. Treminor official is here. What's up?
In some ways, and the more you know the rules, the more you know.
55. 2 more calls to get to 20 calls in an hour. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
All right, so
Almon Billings Flying Services goes by Alex. What he's got. Oh.
The company structure of how they want to make this purchase. Where
Excuse me, not looking to
the aircraft is
sell.
located. Do I buy it as an individual? Do I just my tech company buy it, or do I set up a third entity?
Do we want to call Jeff? Do we want to call Jeff?
It's okay, Jay. It's not my best drawing or anything, but I think it makes sense.
They just bought this.
And tell me, does this make
Let's
sense?
call
How would you
Chris.
explain this to me like I'm a
I'll call the pilot because he's the guy that knows.
Absolutely. Yes, this is a very common ownership structure that we see for a variety of reasons. But in this diagram, you have the tail number of the plane, and you can see that plane is owned by what we call a plane co. So that's the special purpose entity that holds title to the plane. To use previous examples, if there were a state reaching out to impose sales or use tax on the plane, they'd be reaching out to Planeco. Because
What do you guys think about the purple? Kind of rebrand you.
And then in this diagram, OPCO owns Planeco. So OPCO, if you want to think about the different types of buyers that there may be, maybe it's a construction company that's purchasing a plane, or a consulting company, or a manufacturing company of some sort. That operating company is that business that has lots of taxable incomes and activities and has a need for the plane, but it owns its plane through Planeco. So as a wholly owned subsidiary that's called Planeco, obviously it'd have a different name than that. but that subsidiary is what would actually hold title to the plane. So from an income tax reporting perspective, an IRS perspective, these are generally viewed as all one entity. So
All
Plainco is reported
Mm.
and disregarded to the OPCO.
56. One more.
Aircraft is reported directly on that construction company, consulting company, manufacturing
Luis.
tax return altogether.
Talking to the owner will let me know Wednesday.
Very beneficial for the buyer.
May keep as extra
Well,
plane.
that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad my drawing makes sense. Hopefully, it makes sense.
Ruben.
Thank you so
All right,
much
let's
for explaining it so well.
see. So we've got a little bit of
So we took care of sales tax. We took care of
got a
use
little
tax,
bit
we
of
talked about
possibility going on
depreciation, we
here.
talked
Let's
about
see.
everything. Have we talked about anything? I mean, is there
Isaac
any other? I
Jordan.
mean, it's the government, right? I mean, they're looking for their money. Is there anybody else or any other fees that might be attacking us, maybe on an annual basis or a one-time basis? Even if there's nothing that we can do about it, if I'm buying a jet, what else should I be aware of?
Yeah, so it varies from state to state. Sales and use tax is pretty common across the board. Sometimes there's excise taxes or registration taxes or fees, but the other big bucket that we haven't talked about yet is personal property tax that can be due on aircraft. Not every state imposes personal property tax on aircraft, but many do. And that liability is a little bit different because it's an annual liability, unfortunately, and it's actually due to the county in which the aircraft is based. In most states, there's not a whole lot to be done about that one other than just being aware that that liability exists and you may have to pay that every year to the county where the aircraft's based. There are a few states that offer proration or reduction opportunities based on out-of-state use of the plane. Call or email us to discuss and see what those options may be, but it's very important to understand that depending on where you base the aircraft, you may have that liability annually.
Wow. Okay. Well, there's a lot to this whole tax thing, and I imagine it's probably best for someone to come to you with their exact situation so that you can advise them. It's one of those unique industries where, some industries just like, okay, here's the general information and it'll apply to most situations. But when it comes to taxes, I mean, people's business structure and their tax structure is so unique. I guess we call that job security for you guys. So they should definitely get in touch with you.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. The answers to these types of tax questions vary widely depending on the facts related to the type of business that's buying the plane, where the plane's going to be based is absolutely huge. How we're going to utilize the plane, the nature of the business, all those items can vary the answers here. So the easiest way to get good answers is to call or email us and discuss your specific set of facts. We can give you precise answers quickly. And as you alluded to, it's hard to give high-level answers to these questions because the answer is almost always it depends. So the easiest thing to do is call us and discuss.
That's awesome. So as I'm scrolling through your website, I see you've got a frequently asked questions on here as well. So if you have some more questions, they may have already been answered on the Aviation Tax Consultants website. So definitely check that out. And KJ, thank you so much for being here and talking to us about these taxes. And I just want to throw this up here: aviationtaxconsultants.com. Where else can people reach you, connect with you? Again, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me. We're on LinkedIn. We have a Twitter as well. All the social medias, you should be able to find us there. And we're on the road constantly at different aviation events. So stop by our booth. We're around. And like I said, call us, email us anytime.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we really appreciate being here. We'll catch you later.
Thanks.
I was packing up my office and I was, calling my boss to let him know that I was leaving. And, my son overheard my boss just being basically just not happy with my decision to leave. And I remember looking over at my son and I said, "Hey, just, and he was getting upset. My son was getting upset because he was hearing, somebody, not be happy at his dad. And he was just like that, I'm really sad. I'm like, "Hey, listen, dude, like, don't worry about it. Just watch me." And so that motivation of just remembering, like, hey, watch me, what I'm going to be doing, that kind of was the impetus to get it done. And so
I think that was huge, and that kind of spurs me on. My family and my faith, they spur me on, and just in general. And then as far as just balancing everything, I mean, I try to be as flexible as possible, and that goes both ways. So my family, my job is flexible, so that I can stop around 3:30 every day, and I can take my kid to soccer practice. But then when I'm waiting there at soccer practice and I'm talking to a client, I'll tell them like, hey, I'm just picking up the kids from soccer practice. So it goes both ways. It's not like just the family has to be flexible with, hey, I have a job, but also the job has to be flexible with, hey, I got a family. And so I
Mhm.
think that kind of helps maintain a little bit of balance on both worlds. And I would say for the most part, everyone's been pretty on both sides have been pretty um, open to that.
Right. That is true. And I think that's been a lot more the case, I guess, in the last, 5 years, since COVID and
Yeah.
so on. People have become a lot more blended in their life, and a lot more tolerant and transparent about their life than they were before. Like my son's taking paternity leave now, which is something that my father or, my ex-husband never would have had the opportunity to do 20 years ago. That's just not, it wasn't a thing.
Nope. Nope.
So
Yep.
the culture has changed. And I think people realize that people do have lives and they want them to have lives. You want to work with somebody that is a human being in every sense of the word, too.
Exactly.
All right. Um, Feel free to jump in if anybody else has any questions, because
Yeah,
otherwise
for
I'm
sure.
going
I'm here for you guys. Like, I don't want to dominate the conversation either. And so, if I can
right.
help, I know Anna Marie's is a broker. So, if there's any broker specific questions, I'm happy to answer them as well. It's funny. I wrote the book for buyers because I was getting a lot of questions from buyers, and these were clients of mine, and I wanted to attract them. I wanted to show that I could be a trusted authority. I think that's an important. One of the reasons you write a book is so that you're not just a trusted advisor, you become a trusted authority.
Yeah.
You're not just an order taker that somebody trusts, like, okay, yep, you want this. Um, but you become a trusted authority when you have a book. I literally wrote the book about selling and buying private jets. And
Hmm.
so what's interesting is even though it was written for buyers, I now use it as a primer when people are wanting to become jet brokers and I'm training them how to become jet brokers. It's like, hey, read this book because it's going to give you an insight of how the transactions work. Why should people charter? Why should people buy a jet? What are the benefits? Should they invest in a jet by leasing it back to a charter company? And then, of course, there's also funny stories in there and horror stories as well to kind of give them an overview of what it's like to be a
Yeah.
jet broker.
One thing I think that people, especially when they first get into the aviation industry, they have a little bit of discomfort about working with high net worth and ultra high net worth people. And I think, kind of the Robin Lynch lifestyle of the rich and famous, the whole, people don't realize that that was written for the mass market. That was not written for high net worth and ultra high net worth people. They are not celebrity obsessed. They are not
Right?
into the gold plated toilets. They are not into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think your book and also Dan Kennedy's Marketing to the Affluent are really good at dispelling some of the myths about that. Maybe not yours necessarily as much because you're talking to them instead of talking about them.
Yeah.
It's
But I
written
think the
for that
tone,
market, but it's
I
a
think
great
the tone
example.
of the book and the
Mhm.
stories in the book kind of show that, like, hey, listen, like, you're a person.
Yeah.
You want to get from point A to point B. You want your family to be safe. You want to make some money, maybe.
Hmm.
Like, let's have a conversation about that, and we don't have to get into. I think a lot of information out there for. So here's the thing: when it comes to buying a jet or buying a service or enlisting a service, whether you're selling the jet themselves or you're selling your services to the jets, insurance, marketing, financing, whatever it might be, people want to go get information. If I want to buy a car, I'm going to Google, I'm going to
Yeah, no, I really appreciate.
Yeah.
and so basically what the book was, and it was a marketing opportunity for me to be there when someone's looking for a book and to put my voice into their ear when they're doing it. And some people like to do that via YouTube, so they find my YouTube channel. Some people like to read about it, so they buy the book and then they get my tone. And a lot of the tone that's out there, at least when I was becoming a broker and trying to learn about this,
it was very technical. It was very industry specific. So I was learning about the thrust of the engines, and I was learning about the avionics and the model and the part numbers, and I was learning about the lift and the drag and the this and the that, and like that didn't really help me sell the jet. Like I needed to just talk to the like people don't care about that. Like, oh, tell me the thrust on the engine. Like, and I'm not a gearhead myself. I'll geek out on things like, computers. This morning I was geeking out on I needed my keyboard died. My Apple Magic keyboard died. And I was looking at keyboards and I was geeking out on mechanical keyboards and how you can change the caps on them and stuff like that, and how they have different, feelings and sounds and stuff. Like I was like ASMRing the keyboards this morning. And that probably people were like, that's crazy. And what I was finding is a lot of the jet buyers, they didn't need the gearhead explanation about jets. They just needed like, hey, tell me what it does. How far does it go? How fast does it go? How much does it cost? How many people can it take? Boom, let's have that conversation. So my entire brand as a broker and the tone of the book
Mhm.
was just to be very down to earth. Hey man, tell me what's your mission. Like, let's go. Hey, let me tell you.
All righty then. Hey, what's up, Pastor Vincent? Good to see you. Hi, Jenny. Hi, everybody. All right, so we are 1 hour in, 21 calls down, over an hour. See that? Okay, so that's what slows you down. Now, if we take a look at the current status of JetLife Aero agents today, we said we're going to be trying to make 100 calls. So I have a total of, and here, let me share that. Can I share this with you guys? Excuse me. Percent. No, I'm not going to change it up right now. All right, so
Why
I've
would
got
we care about
24
an
calls
article?
according to
Right?
our
No, that's funny. And
thing,
I think
according to our call log.
well,
Alex is
marketing
up to
principle
10
is you don't sell
for
the
you,
drill, you sell the
buddy.
hole, right?
Let's
So
see if
you
we
are
got
not
anything
selling the plane,
on
you're selling
anybody
a
else.
transportation option. To most of these people,
Kevin's
that's
at
what it
4,
is.
so we're a
They're
little late start
not,
today.
what is the word? They're not
All right.
like us, that we're in love with
All right,
airplanes
next
for
up, let's go.
themselves. They just need a transportation option that's better, more private, more convenient, all of those things than anything else, right?
I love that. Don't sell the drill, sell the hole.
I can't take credit for that. I think that was a Zig Ziglar thing from.
No, but what's interesting is
Yeah.
I'm juxtaposing that to what I was taught in aviation was sell the sizzle,
Not the
not the
steak.
steak.
Oh,
And I think I think that'd be a really interesting, not to nerd out on marketing because we can do that as well, but I think that's an interesting challenge between like, okay, what do? Do you sell
Yeah.
the sizzle, not the steak? Do you sell the hole, not the drill? I like the hole, not the drill better. And my favorite axiom that I learned when I was working at another brokerage was sell how you want to be sold to.
Yeah.
So I was struggling when I first started because I was trying to sell like frankly, like Grant Cardone, 10X, like, auto car salesman, which, to be clear, I made a lot of money based on those of his framework and his training, and I recommend it to people.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I was trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and I found a little bit of success, but I found even more success when I started to tailor that to sell how you want to be sold to. And I didn't want to dance around, hey, how's the weather? Because the very first thing my manager told me was, don't talk about the airplane.
All right.
What are you talking about? I'm calling them to list their airplane. How do I not talk about the airplane? Like, I talk about anything else. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So when he said sell, you sold to him, like, listen, the reason why I'm calling is I want to sell your jet, man. Listen, I know you get calls all the time. I'm not here to waste your time. Just hoping I might catch you at the right time. Would you be opposed to a 60-second conversation about what the market's doing right now? And then I started to find success when I just kind of backed off and treated people how I wanted to be treated. And I knew that not everybody was going to want to do business with me.
Yeah.
Because your vibe attracts your tribe. So some people want you to talk about the weather and the local sports team. I'm not,
And there are plenty of brokers who can sell to them
plenty
too.
of brokers that can do that. Yep.
Right. I know when I started, I was trying to be Dan Kennedy and I really, really sucked at it.
Oh, geez. There's only one, and there's only one of you. So be yourself.
Exactly. So it is nice to have a mentor. It's great to have somebody that you learn from, and somebody that's been there and done that. But then you take what they teach you. You learn what works with your vibe, what doesn't work with your vibe, and it's just like the whole Buddhist mentality of if it doesn't sound right, it's not for you at this time. So
But I think,
yeah.
but a lot of people forget about the ultra high net worth people.
Mm.
When the alarm goes off in the morning and they get out of bed, they put their pants on just like I do. I mean, there's no difference.
Hmm.
They made some money. Okay, fine. But most of them that I've met like to be treated just like a normal Joe.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
And if you can do that, you can probably get on track with whatever you're trying to do with them.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question, if I may. The book is focused on, I guess, a buyer, but the buyer from the standpoint of a broker. I'm not a broker, I'm a manufacturer, or we are a future manufacturer. How would you tailor the things that are in the book? And I'm a former FBO owner, so I do understand the sales process. But how would you tailor it looking at it from the standpoint of a manufacturer selling a Citation or a Gulfstream or something else, as opposed to the broker, which is, you've got, an aircraft that you're trying to turn over.
So is the question, how do you write a book and
No.
tailor that as a manufacturer and tailor it? Or is
No.
how do you take the principles from the book?
I'm looking for your insights from your experience. And if you were to go to Cessna or if we were to hire you and say, we need someone to go out and sell our aircraft, how would you tailor the principles in the book to a manufacturer?
So if you were to, if someone was to
All
hire
right,
you
all right, all right.
an aircraft and it was a manufacturer,
Moving right along.
and I hope I can answer the
Next.
question appropriately, but I guess from a marketing perspective, I would do.
So we also
testing
call
looking at
different
overall,
numbers.
with our business and brand, and that's a concept of omnipresence. So I'm creating as much content as possible. That may not be by the aircraft, but it's all stuff that's surrounding that.
Let's
that
see if
content.
this
So
is a direct line.
I'm looking at who are our target buyers and how can I provide value to them. It's like a Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, 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 right hook. His new book, Day Trading Attention. How do I get someone who's going to buy, an aircraft? How do I get their attention? Well, first they're starting at the top of the funnel. It's like, well, which one do I get? And so I'm doing a comparison on, do you want a light jet, a mid-sized jet, a heavy jet? Obviously, and if it's being brought to you by, a manufacturer. So if I'm working with Textron and I'm hawking the CJ4 Gen 2s, I might say, the benefits of the light jets versus the mids and the heavies. At the same time, I would compare the CJ4 Gen 2 with other, single pilot light jets, like the Premier or the Honda jets. So I'm creating content that I think the buyer is going to be asking. Am I on the right track? Because I have more and I'll keep going, but am I on the right track in answering your question?
Yeah, I'm just curious how you would approach it, and so far it makes a lot of sense. I'm just curious.
Yeah, for me, it's about content marketing, and so I was actually just listening to a YouTube video today that was talking about what they did was they went into all their recorded sales calls and they listened to all the questions that people were asking and they wrote them out and they put little tally marks and they found out the most frequently asked questions. So how much does it cost? How far does it go? How many people does it seat? All that kind of stuff. They tallied up, and then their pitch and their content was basically answering those questions. And that's how I started my YouTube channel, 3 years ago. It was because people were asking me questions as a broker, and I was like, well, let me just make a video about it, and then I'll send it to them in an email after I talk to them, so that after they talk to me, even though they talked to 5 other brokers today when they were trying to buy a Citation, I'm the only one that sent them a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one that sent them a YouTube channel that actually answered the specific question that they had. Where I couldn't go into in depth, like how you should do a pre-buy on the phone, but I could send them a video that says, here's how you do a pre-buy, and it's 20 minutes long and they watch it. So for me, the main strategy is content marketing by answering the questions that they're having, that they're expressing. And then as as you kind of do more and more of that, the questions that they don't even know to ask.
Yeah.
The problem with the questions that they don't even know to ask is that
they're not going to find you right via Google or YouTube because those are search engines. So you have to know what you're searching for. So that's kind of my biggest Achilles heel, and yours probably as well, and all of ours in aviation, is that sometimes people don't know what to ask. And so
Mhm.
you're competing for attention, but they don't know even how to ask Google how to find you. So you're trying to tell them about this amazing, manufactured aircraft that's coming out soon, but they don't even know to ask about it. So you have to think of ways to re-engineer. Well, how do I get them here? Well, I could talk high level about how to choose the right jet, which they're typing in. How do I choose the right jet? And then, how do I choose the right electric jet? I don't know
Ring,
if
ring,
there's an
ring.
electric jet, but you know what I mean? Like, you can kind of funnel it down to where they do find you. And so it's a both end approach. You're trying to reach up to those that are that you can help, but they don't know how to find you. And then at the same time, the people that are already talking to you and giving you questions, you're providing them even more value so that you're sticking out, so that they get attached to you. And last thing, sorry, I know it's a lot, but I like to geek out. If they do
Yeah.
geek out about anything, it's marketing stuff. Uh, if you can attach it to a person, I think there's a tremendous value there. Um, I've never had very much luck with getting people to attracted to a brand like Jet Life Aero. Like, it could be Jet Life Aero, but I think a big thing is they're attached to me. Like, hey, I'm Tom, and this is what we're doing right now. So I think from a manufacturer, there's going to be that tension where, yes, you want to push the manufacturer. At the same time, though, I think there's value if you can have a consistent brand with a consistent person involved in the marketing. So even if it's the same person every single time, but they're always, pushing. But yeah, if they're always pushing TBT Aero, that person, that's why you see personal brands, blow up more than, a company, especially in aviation.
Yeah,
Interesting. Thanks.
absolutely. Anna Marie and Roman, I know you guys are both selling to some of the same people, or at least have an interest in that. So I wanted to hold some space for you guys to ask questions if you had any.
Sure. Yeah, I'll chime in. I don't want to start off with the big high net worth jets because more of my knowledge just from the magazine and my flight training is GA, and I
Mhm.
want to get into GA. The cover I'm working with for this month, for this magazine, I'd love to work for them as an independent broker, contractor, whatever. I don't know if they have room. They said they were looking for somebody in California. So this is really an interesting spot in my entrepreneurial journey and my career in aviation. I was just wondering what advice you might have for somebody who's getting started,
Conversation about bringing
on their
yours to the
own. Is
market.
it better
Again, it's Tom
to
with Jet Life Aero,
find, how do
941
you find a
241
mentor?
2682.
Just any kind of advice you can give a beginner, I'd appreciate.
Well, yeah, I think it's really important to find a mentor in a community that you can connect with. And unfortunately, there's really not much out there. You can join organizations like NBAA, especially their YoPro program. GLADA is another great program, the Global Licensed Aircraft Dealer Association, but that's $3,500 a year. You might not be in a position to swing that right away. I wasn't when I first started out, but there's been a lot of value since I've joined them. Um, if I can be so bold, I mean, it's why we created the Circle community within Jet Life Aero. So anybody can join that. You just go to circle.jetlifeaero.com, and it's literally just like the ABC Circle group. It's a
Mhm.
community of aspiring and veteran brokers.
All right, what's up
And
next?
we have on there, discussion threads where you can
We're
ask
at
us any
27
question as you're going
calls.
through
I
a
have
deal.
about
Hey,
another
somebody
hour
turned up a pre-buy. Like, what do you guys think about this? And
until
we
we
have a community
need
of brokers. There's about
to.
60 or 70 people in there right now, that can contribute. And we also have free training in there as well. I go live once a week on there, and so I would encourage you to find a mentor, find an online community. I would selfishly recommend circle.jetlifeaero.com.
And is
I
that free? I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yeah,
Tom.
that's free. That's
Okay,
100% free. There's different
fantastic.
tiers.
Yeah.
If you wanted daily coaching, and if you wanted, that we have like a little, we're launching in April, like a little tiny marketplace within there, so people can post their listings and what they're looking for.
Mhm.
There's other resources, and there's a bigger library of archive training in there that'll be a subscription.
and then of course it goes into the course and all that kind of stuff. But no, Anna Marie, I think the biggest thing is just try to talk with people that are kind of in a similar position. I know it can kind of feel lonely when you're getting started, because sometimes I feel like, and I remember this when I first started on my own, like you either don't want to bother someone because you see them, they're busy and successful, so you're nervous to reach out to them. And I found most of the time, if I did reach out, like they were cool, you know, they actually enjoy talking with you. Or you feel like you're so just drowning amongst other things, you don't have time to kind of reach out to ask for the help. But at the end of the day, like we need the encouragement. And I'll be honest, for me, like sometimes LinkedIn is difficult for me to go into, because I see, since I'm friends with so many brokers and stuff, it's like sold, listed. And I'm just like, crap, like this is not a good place for me. But you know, I think just kind of reaching out and knowing what kind of help you need, and being coachable about it. Like people will help you if you come to them with a genuine problem. If you just come with them and say, I need help, they're like, okay, what do
this
you
year.
need?
So if
Like,
you
I
get a
don't know.
chance, give me a call at your
Be
convenience.
specific.
941
Yeah, be
241
specific.
2682. Again,
Don't
Tom with Jet
go
Life
down
Arrow,
the road of
941
heels,
241
like,
2682.
you know, hey, Mr. Lawyer person, can you help me with this APA? And they'll be honest. They'll say yes, or they'll say no. And you know, I'd love to be a resource as much as I can for you, Anna Marie, because you know, the reason I started Jet Life
Spain,
Arrow,
Las
there's two
Vegas.
pieces of it. There's the community and there's the brokerage. Is because when I first got
Oh.
started, there was nothing.
Hey, Marcio,
Absolutely
Steven.
nothing to learn. Especially if you wanted something for free.
You guys hear
Especially if you wanted
rumbling in the
something
background.
real
That's
world, like this is how
my
real
wife
estate
trying to
works,
print
this is how
something.
being a broker is like. And so I'm just really passionate about paying that forward in the community for free. I think aviation changed my life. I want to help change other people's lives, and I would never stand in their way through a paywall.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. And I just wanted to say, when Keith started, and I've known Keith a long time because, like I said, he knew my dad. He was one of our first advertisers. He wanted to create the McDonald's of aircraft brokers. He wanted to create a franchise system and get people to come in and have both sources of revenue from the franchise and from the sales of aircraft. Unfortunately, he got old, he got sick, he went into a care home. I think you could really fill his place in the industry and give people the guidance that they need and that they are seeking in this really awesome line of work.
Charter.
It's really fun. You know, I think his material,
Sanjit.
they were great for the 90s and the 2000s, but now in the world with social media and all these other platforms, we need somebody who's more well versed in that. And I just think you could be a great partner for USA Aircraft Brokers, and I'm really looking forward to reading your book in full. I've already kind of touched on some of the stuff, but really sitting down and reading it in full and working with you in the future. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Roman, did you have any questions? I wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity as well.
Yeah, thank you, Paula. Hi, Tom. Yeah, I have a question. Tom, I like your book because of the language. It's simple, and at the same time, it's very entertaining as far as, you know, the way you use your language to really deliver the information, and the style of delivery of information is great. You know, those examples being on the flight and watching Legally Blonde movie. You know, that's just that's so bright and sharp example. You know, it's authentic,
So
and
many
at the same
judgmental eyes. I was like, what? Come on. Like,
yeah, and at the same time, it's vulnerable. So those things are really, you know, the signs of that you're just using your talent to describe situation, not just with facts or your experience, but really kind of opening up the situation where people is really attracted to and entertained, and keep reading. So I just cannot stop reading your book as I started. You know, I'm going in big chunks, you know, through the book. I guess I have a couple of questions about it. So um, with, you know, working with clients, what do you think? Do you have enough there, like more questions that you think would be enough for something else for you to create, as
All right,
far
we're about
as
an hour and a half
do you
in,
want
and we're at
like
30
more
calls.
content on things that you observe
So
video
yeah, like I
clients
said, we
asking
just
me
kind of stay
about
on
it.
this in 5 hours, you have a
And
100 call
another part of
day.
the question is,
So
again, working with your clients, are you do you see like things that there is a also areas that they don't know
22.
what they don't know, so you can see that and maybe create
Let's see what
some
this
more content.
Yeah, I
California,
mean those are great questions, and
a little
it's questions
early.
that everybody needs to be asking themselves, right? Especially when it
Let's
comes
see
to
what we got
marketing and
going on
aviation.
here.
Like, what are the questions that people don't know to ask, but I'm asking them on a regular basis, and it kind of is a game changer. As well as, how can I add more value, right? And so I guess I would say a couple things. Number one, the next book that I'm going to write is going to be for brokers. It's going to be, and I think I'm going to call it Ready, Fire, Aim, the Ultimate Jet Guide for brokers, because that's kind of how I've operated. It's ready, fire, and then aim, as opposed to like ready, aim, fire, or my wife's like ready, aim. Are we still doing this? What's going on? Okay, fire. For me, my journey in aviation was ready, fire, aim. I just told my wife one day, hey, I'm going to be a jet broker, and it's like, okay, here we go. So that'll be my next book, because I think there's a lot of value to training brokers, and I think there's value for buyers to understand it from a broker's perspective, but it'll be mostly targeted towards brokers. So I guess a principle to draw from that would be, you have your core clients. For me, the buyers, they're the ones that keep the lights on. But what are other audiences that might benefit from your experience? And maybe it's indirectly or it's directly. Can you have another stream of income or another revenue flow by serving another audience, an adjacent audience? So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it from the marketing perspective. And then things that they don't know, it would be more content on how to make money with a jet. And so my biggest clicks and my highest views are for how to make money with a private jet. So how do you buy a jet? How do you lease it over to a charter company and generate revenue? How do you break that down? What are the things you need to be aware of? Those are kind of the content I probably should make more about, because it's the one that people click on the most.
That's another great thing about having content out there, is that you get all these statistics of what do people really resonate with, what do they leave the most comments or have the most questions or resonate with the most. And it's not what you think it's going to be. It's almost never what you think it's going to be. Some of the silliest videos, in my opinion, I'm like, should we even do a video about this, because it's such a silly question? But those end up being our most popular videos or blog posts. I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but if you're surprised sometimes by.
Yeah, and I've also kind of taken a different approach to the numbers.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I was able to get on Ask Gary V on his show. I think it was TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
ago.
Moving right
And I
along.
basically asked him, like, hey, a lot of marketing professionals are telling me I should make videos of celebrity jets, fancy stuff, luxury, yada yada yada. But like,
We'll fly
get
for
to know what's the
tacos.
things
I would
that
love some
Yeah.
tacos.
there are people who
That is a
love
great
jets and they'll never be able to afford
Instagram
one.
handle.
So, should I chase the views?
What's
and make
going on,
videos
guys? Don't
about
forget,
jets,
I'm here
or
for
people
a
that
chunk of the day
post videos on a
today.
daily basis that
If
make
you've
money
got
with
any
streaming?
questions,
Gary was just, very much like,
if you got any questions about selling a private jet or
like, you got to do what's
becoming a
best for your
broker or
audience.
buying a jet,
And
would love an
so,
opportunity to talk with you.
I've changed the data that I watch, and it's not so much views, but
Whiskey
time,
Tango.
like duration, average view duration.
Mhm.
So I think that's an interesting principle. It's like, yes, to collect data and to use data to make decisions, but then don't be afraid to look at different data points and figure out what
You're
is
welcome,
success
dude.
to you.
Yeah.
So for us and my marketing team, success is not necessarily views. Is our average duration going up?
Mhm.
Is our click through going up?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's how we've started to like look at numbers a little bit differently.
Smart. Yeah, we get a lot more engagement on Instagram as an example, but we get most of our customers from LinkedIn
Right.
and
Yeah.
YouTube.
Platforms
So,
too. Yeah.
right, exactly. So, but our numbers on LinkedIn don't look nearly as good as our numbers on Instagram. So we know that there's more people over here, but these are the ones that are qualified. So these are the ones that we're going to spend the time on, and we write everything for the platform that we get the most customers from. Yeah, and there's no dashboard that'll tell you where your customers come from. You have to ask them. how did you find us? Right. Roman, did that answer your question? I didn't mean to jump on your
Yeah,
coattails there.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Paula. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Excellent. Great. Well, any famous last words? Anybody have any other questions, comments, anything else for Tom before we wrap it up for the day?
Thanks very much for your time. Very interesting. It's always fun to see process and procedure as well. As a former FBO owner, I wish I had have had your book before I bought the FBO, but
Ring a ding ding.
The things we wish we knew earlier. Right, and that's another reason I love books is because there's no experience, no substitute for experience except somebody else's experience. And this is the one of the best ways to get it is to read about it and get what you want when you want it. So thank you so much, Tom, for hanging with us today and for answering all of our nosy questions. And really look forward to of course, the aviation industry is a small world, so we'll be seeing that. And again, people can find you by through your Circle channel, of course, circle.jetlifeaero. Is that right? .com? Okay. And any other places that you want to send people or that they should get in touch with you?
Yeah, that's a great place. Circle's a great place to go. You'll find me on my name, Tom Lelio, Lelyo, pretty much on all social media channels. And if you want to pick up a copy of the book, go to theultimatejetguide.com. You can download a free sample there.
Yes, got to do another joke.
Mm-hmm.
LVM
On
with
Amazon.
Pat
Yeah,
told
you have a
joke.
copy if you're
She didn't even
if
take my
you're
message though.
interested,
She just took my
we're
number.
really
Like
happy that you
I
were
know
able
you're
to
probably not gonna
to come and
give the
talk with
guy
us
my
live and
number.
in person.
Like I
Went
just
into
like
business for myself.
I don't know.
I would say
Okay,
my,
let's see. Why
even
are
though
we
I was
talking
taking
to
home
Chad?
100% of the commission, I hit
Create
six
8 left message
figures.
with the operator.
A
Next
lot
time,
of it
figure out
went back
assistant's name,
into
Rebecca. Give him my
business.
info to
And so in
assistant.
some ways it's
Voicemail,
less,
email.
because
You get a new
I guess
number?
in all ways it's
Texted
less
Chad.
because I had all that overhead. So therein lies the
Huh.
benefit of working with the brokerage. And it also it depends on the market. 3 years ago it was starting to
Let's
be
see what's going on
good,
here.
and then it got really good. A year or two ago.
So this is an
Now we're in
example
a
of I
tougher
don't really know
market
what's going on, but we're
situation,
just gonna
so I'm probably gonna have to go
try
back
to
to
figure it
making
out.
20 transactions at 5K as opposed to 20K. I gotta have to kind of start from scratch again.
Right. Well, again, this book is great. The Ultimate Jet Guide. I can't highly recommend it enough. I mean, especially for those that watch the channel that want to get into aviation. It's a great resource for people maybe even looking to be pilots and do the selling on the side or working for a broker. Maybe not full time, getting their hand in it. You never know. I mean, this could be, and I've had a few of my friends go into being jet brokers instead of pursuing the pilot thing. They got their pilot license, they're on that track, and decided to do something else, and they love the world, and they love the fast pace of it, and they love the money of it. So, it's a really well written book, Tom. And any last words you want to give to the podcast on maybe if you're looking at doing something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage you that what's nice about the book is I think it literally does pull back the curtain on private aviation, especially when it comes to how those transactions work. And especially being in aviation, whether you're a pilot, you're a mechanic, you can help facilitate deals. And the degree to which you facilitate the deal can be a paycheck. So, I've got pilots and mechanics that they understand how aviation works and how brokerage works. So they know I'll call Tom if I have a seller that wants to sell the jet. And then in turn, I will reward them with, part of the commission commensurate with how much they've done. So if it's just like a little lead, here you go, maybe that's a couple $1,000s. If it's, you're the mechanic for the seller, and you help facilitate the deal like 50% because I'm always talking to you and never talking to the seller, well, maybe you get half the commission. And by understanding how aviation works through the book and through experience, like you can be involved as in the transaction side without having to, quit as a pilot, quit as a mechanic, and set up your own shop as a brokerage. Just be
involved in the life and the ecosystem of brokers, and there's always opportunities for people who aren't full time to make money and then find themselves in the middle of a deal where they do make the full commission. So just get involved for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fascinating career. It's a fascinating field to be in. You get to talk to a lot of really interesting people, and it's cool. It's private jets, man. It's airplanes. So what's not
Yeah.
to like about that?
Man, I got to get you guys on the call when I'm
Well,
telling the
Tom,
joke.
I appreciate
You got to
your
critique
time
my
today.
delivery.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for bringing a lot of value to this podcast, and
35.
getting people excited about private jets.
Rick.
If they want to reach you, Tom, you're at Instagram, Tom Lelio. I keep messing up
Lelio,
your
it's
name.
fine.
Lelio, there you go. And you also have a YouTube called The Ultimate Jet Guide on YouTube. I highly recommend you check them out because that's how I found you, Tom. I was poking around YouTube one day and I saw a couple of YouTube videos on you, and I was like, wow, this guy is talking about everything in selling airplanes. This is awesome. So yeah, check out his YouTube channel. It is great. Tom, again, thanks for being on, and maybe in a year or so we'll have you back on again, and you can give us an update to your business and how much you've grown.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Ernie.
All right, thanks, Tom. Have a good day.
Welcome to the Jet Life Aero podcast. My name is Tom Lelio. I'm your ultimate jet guide, and today we're joined by Richard Whittles of Farnborough Airport. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you guys.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
So I'm a new broker. I just started in June. New to the aviation industry in that sense. But I've always been
Just
passionate
bought
about aviation
this.
my life and always wanted to combine both business and aviation, and that's how I found myself in the career I'm in right now. I've always kind of tried to think of like a 5-year plan and how I can expand it past just being a broker. So looking at FBOs and that kind of thing. So I'm just curious to learn, if you have any suggestions for, a young person in the aviation industry, how they can get into the FBO business, maybe as an expansion onto what they're currently doing. That's really my question.
Should I start on that side? Shall I start with that?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, are you happy to? Yeah, sure. So the main thing from you, I mean, I from my experience, I've been in I've worked on the airport side now since 2006. Fell into aviation, wasn't from an aviation background, but my background's customer service. So it's end-to-end from a customer point of view. I'm a little bit geeky. I quite like data, quite like stats. So coming to this world, there's a fascinating world where you can learn a lot about different stuff. You can, just learning your aircraft recognition as a basic first step, which you've probably already got down. Just getting into the experience of these things and learn from people that have been in the environment. Listening is fantastic because you can absorb as much data. You want to be a sponge, absorb as much as you can. From my point of view, having worked both in an aircraft management side of things, that's where I kind of cut my teeth on aircraft management. And moving into an FBO side, it's all about trying to ensure that from a customer perspective, you're trying to enhance the customer's experience. Being open and honest about what you can and can't do is really, really key in this market. It's such a small world, especially in Europe. I think you guys are a little bit broader because of how big your market is. But, just gaining that experience from other people that have kind of been there and done it, and also listening to your customer. What I find is that everybody's different. Whilst our set of services are pretty much the same, we'll always handle an airplane. The way a customer wants things can be quite unique and different. So we have to listen to our customers and try and
tell a joke. Here we go.
Our model around them rather than the other way. You have to be the one that's flexible, because ultimately our customers generally come to you because they want your services. So that's really, really fascinating. But listening, just absorbing as much as possible. Such a fascinating industry, and it's constantly changing now. Now we're on sustainability, sort of a huge sustainability kind of.
Brenda, it's Tom again. I just asked you to talk to Charles and Michelle. I forgot to ask you. Hey, it's Friday. Would you like to hear a joke? Awesome. Well, hey, what happens if you tell a bad airplane joke? It never lands. I yeah. Well, you have a great rest of your weekend, Brenda. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Bye. Hey, Owen. Great question. No, I have not done anything regarding aircraft management. It might be something that we look at in the near future, or not in the near future, but in the
journey.
future.
And
If
from an
somebody
airport point of view,
wanted
we're
to,
really trying
like,
to
if somebody
progress
was
it.
like
We've got a
good at
couple of
aircraft
projects
management
for
and they
our
wanted to just like hop
services
on
from
board
an
and join the
airport
team
infrastructure point of view. So, for
and help
example,
us
all our
do it,
vehicles are
I'd be
electric. We have
down. But
electric passenger
personally,
vehicles that take
I'm not
passengers
good
and
with
bring to a cargo
details and
terminal,
logistics, like
electric
things
tugs,
like I'll give you an
electric
example. I was
GPUs, so we have
supposed
diesel GPUs anymore.
to
We retired those. And those vehicles that have to be diesel, like the
plan and
lorries that we
facilitate
construct
a
that
summer
turns to
camp
our
for
fuel,
my
we
church
can
for
enrich fuel,
my
which is
own
like
kids.
a synthetic
And
diesel
I'm
biofuel.
now like we
So from
haven't
an
paid the
airport
bills
perspective,
on
we've got a very
time.
high
We
airport
are missing
accreditation.
chaperones. People are
So
dropping out left and
when we
right.
look at our kind of
I'm
overall
just not the person
sort of
to
sustainability
manage that
agenda,
kind
we're
of
trying to
thing on a
look after
long-term
ourselves.
basis. So
And on the passenger
that's
side,
why
it's
we
really
haven't
quite
done
interesting.
anything with
So
it.
we see this mix between your corporate that has perhaps more of an agenda to address from a sustainability point, especially if they're a publicly listed or a trading company and they have an airplane as a business tool. They're more likely to be interested in the sustainable aircraft fuel. Problem we have in Europe is supply. We don't have a lot of it, so and when we have it, it gets sold quite quickly to the corporates. The charter side of the business is difficult because obviously charter is all about revenues and margin, and when you've got a higher fuel percentage or a higher fuel cost, they're mostly unlikely to take it. So for us as an airport, we're really trying to drive the agenda. We're considering potentially going to a SAF only fuel by 2030, having SAF only on site, maybe. Really big gig in the UK is trying to push this. And we already have a high blend. We have 38% on average blend SAF versus JA1. So we have a really, really high blend on site. So we're really trying to encourage our operators to think about SAF. But the industry, I think, depending on which operator group, is quite far behind the curve on it. In terms of what we do, in terms of our airport, it's all about the customer. It's all about the customer service. It's all about the customer's delivery. We very much major so heavily on that because ultimately
Sometimes when you're calling, you forget to. So I'm actually, it says I'm at 42. Cheap viewers on Make Love. How do we block this comment? I don't know how to do it. Oh, it's on Twitch. That's why.
Okay. Yeah, and especially in this US market, it's all about the feedback. We've won a lot of awards, outside of being best FBO outside of the Americas. And a lot of that is about how we treat the customers. What is the service experience? What are we trying to ensure that they get the best sort of service, quick turnarounds? I mean, we've listened to our crews over the years. For example,
Sweet, we're at 42. We're getting there. We're getting there. And I'm going to be getting out of here in about a half an hour. And then I'll have, looks like I'll have about 50 calls more to do. Don't know if we'll make it, but we'll see what we can do. But it's definitely possible. I just have a I've got an appointment till 2 o'clock, an appointment at 3, so I won't be able to get back here till 3. So if I get 20, 20, 40, it's going to be close.
That relationship to ensure that the due diligence is done on the airplane, that they're getting a very good pedigree aircraft. It's really, really important that
Jack, Tom with Jet Life Aero, good morning. Happy Friday to you. I know you probably get these calls all the time regarding 997 Echo Alpha. Not here to waste your time. Just wondering if I catch you at the right time. I know it's been a little while. I've currently got serial number 225 listed for sale on the market. Wanted to see if you guys would be interested in learning what the market's doing. If you haven't been keeping up, it's stable. Average asking on a Citation 5 is about $2 million. And we're looking ahead to a bustling fourth quarter as usual. So if you think about making a change, give me a call. You can meet. It's Tom with Jet Life Aero, 941-241-2682.
And ultimately, they're looking for somebody to be responsible for the airplane.
Whoops, y'all heard that voicemail. I try to keep those away from you guys. My bad. I want to do an accent. So if y'all have an accent that you want me to do, throw it out in the comments. Like, let's just have some fun for the next voicemail. I can't do a full conversation on an accent.
And there are a number of professionals out there.
Would you still recommend getting your people before getting into brokerage? I'm the middle of getting mine. Oh, PPL. Got it. Not people. Great question. Let's talk about this. Owen. Let me throw it up here so everybody can see the question.
My top tip, and that comes from somebody who worked for an operator.
All right, great question. Actually, what are we at? 46:35. Great question from Owen that's watching us live stream for cold calls today. Should you get your private pilot license before getting into getting into brokerage? I don't think you have to. I started. I was 2 years, selling private jets. Sold 20 jets, made 100K. Sold another 20 jets the next year, made 200K. I wasn't a pilot. People would say to me like, "Hey, it sounds like you know what you're talking about. You must be a pilot." And I would say, "No, I just know about it." But then I was finally in a financial situation where I could take some time and get my private pilot's license. So that's exactly what I did. So, is it helpful? Sure. It's cool, but it is absolutely not a requirement. And is in some ways it could be an impedance because you're busy thinking about other things. And some people geek out too much about being a pilot and they miss the sale because they don't know how to talk to people, but they're really good at flying. So it's funny. Pilots are kind of a different breed. There's a reason why they hang out in the cockpit, and they close the door. It's because they don't necessarily want to talk to people. So I would just kind of check that a little bit, but overall you don't need it. And so I would not say it's required, but it could be helpful if that's what you want to do. If that's your long-term goal, then yeah, by all means, go for it.
Because it just demystifies everything. Yes, there's a
Another
cost
thing
to
I
it,
remember
but if you get the
doing
right deal,
is
we'll reap the benefits
should I
we
talk to
call
Dick?
in
He
from
has
that
two.
experience. Now, in the future, you may become an operator yourself because some people in certain models do like a
I
partner.
remember always
one
trying to
equivalent.
get
It takes time and experience, and with the right team around them, you can do it.
50 calls
First
by
time
noon.
buyer,
That
especially
was
if
one
they're
of my
looking to
goals when I
charter
was
like
starting.
125
We're
operations,
on pace.
somebody who can,
Should
provide
be able to get
good
there.
charter revenue. But I would always question charter guarantees. That's quite an interesting model. Yeah, an interesting one. You have to navigate them with a little bit of caution. But my top tip is a really, really solid operator, and that's probably the best way to start.
Sorry for the interruption. I just had the opportunity to speak with Jason Zilberbram over at VREF, and they are launching their brand new VREF 3.0. VREF is the trusted resource that many lenders will use to provide a valuation on an aircraft. With 3.0, they're introducing a more mobile-friendly interface. You're going to be able to connect with brokers and owners. You're going to be able to get instant valuations. You're going to be able to find out information about aircraft that are currently for sale and historical data as well. Whether you're a broker or a buyer, having access to reliable information when it comes to market trends and it comes to aircraft valuations is extremely important. So if you want to check it out and even get 10% off, you can go to go.theultimatejetguide.com/VREF for more information. Thank you so much, VREF, for sponsoring this video.
So how does an airport view owners, crew? I think you spoke to it a little bit. You talked about we see the crews as owners.
Yeah.
How do you balance, or I guess, can you pull back the curtain a little bit from a airport's perspective of what are you trying to do? What's the product you're trying to deliver so that an owner can kind of see that and be like, oh, that's why they did this, or that's why they're trying to do that.
So Farmer's quite unique in the sense that we own and operate everything you see. So we're quite different in the market compared to others. We're not like an airport that has a number of FBOs on site. So therefore, that end-to-end service, pretty much from when the customer or the passenger enters the gate of the airport, it's all us. We control the experience completely. From where the customer parks their car, where their driver parks their car. The services to the driver, the services to the housekeeper, whatever. And what we try and do is when we talk to them, we understand what their priorities are. Is it that it's speed and efficiency? Is it that they have a pet and they want to make sure that pet is looked after? We have a pet service on site. So we want to try and get into the under the skin of what is really, really important. Now, but at the same time, we don't want to make it particularly complex and layers. We don't want to create too much work. So that may be that we'll liaise with the management company because the management company are always working on behalf of the principal directly. Yeah.
Well, I like that because you explain this idea of, and we talk about this, we're, jet life. We talk about jet life to the fullest. It's not just the jet. It's not just in the jet. It's that whole experience. Like you said, dropping off your luggage at the aircraft or getting picked up.
And there's a life cycle element as well, because we understand, especially first-time buyers, we hope they
All
have a good
right,
experience.
let's go
We
back
hope
here.
that,
Let's
they're
get back into it. See, this is the
successfully and
thing.
they're different opportunities. And what we
I get
kind of want
sidetracked for a
is long-term
second.
customer.
You lose your
We're
momentum.
not here for the, we appreciate the certain transient and with the US corporate, they come and go because they're not based here. But from a long-term perspective,
All in
it's good
June.
for us
We're
to
almost in
forge
June.
relationships early on, have that as much contact as our client wants. So the unique thing about this market is everybody's different. Some people want to have that unique relationship. I met a guy last year, a Silicon Valley guy, IPO, made $1 billion, bought a G650. So I want to come and see your hangar, personally to me. So that's one end of the scale. The other end of the scale is we've got people who don't want to have that delivered, just want to get them and go. So we have to measure our approach appropriately to what our customers
And
want.
as a buyer, they should take that into account. I think a lot of times I'll even find guys that want to buy a plane. I'm like, okay, where are we basing it? Like there's no hangar space where you want to base it, my friend. Like, what are we going to do here? So what I love about this conversation, it opens up this idea for the buyers. Start thinking about your jet life as a whole, not just this is the jet that can fit as many people, take me where I need to go, and off I go. There's a wide, you're going into a whole new lifestyle. And I appreciate that from your perspective as an airport, you understand that and you can experience that throughout the entire time. As some people won't have that, you know, they have to go with the FBO or the management company or the rental company and kind of have to piece it together. But that's huge. I appreciate that insight.
You know, and it's all about the team as well. It's all about understanding who's working for the customer. You know, I completely understand that the customer may only want to deal with one focal point. So in that regard, I would deal directly with the management company or directly with yourselves, because ultimately, you know, the customer wants concise data. You know, really, you know, they may not have time to read a 65-page document. So we try to, you know, make things as simple and streamlined as possible. But it's a complex business.
Well, you let the customer take the lead.
Yeah, sure.
And sometimes they don't know what they don't know. Hopefully after this video, they'll start thinking about more from the airport experience and not just the jet itself.
Yeah, exactly. And the regulatory environment in Europe is slightly different in the sense that there's probably more reliance on management companies because they have the expertise than perhaps you might do in the US. Or you know, so there are lots of different ways of doing it. I would recommend, obviously, that they have a team around them that they trust.
Yes.
And that's really, really important, that they feel that they're getting good value for the information. I mean, from my side, my title's business development. I don't really like that title. It's more about consultancy. So people say, I've got this problem. How do you solve it? Well, these are selection solutions that I provide. There are others out there that might do it slightly differently. There are others out there that might do it slightly cheaply, but maybe a different price point. We are what we do because we're the best in the business, certainly in the London market. And you know, we hope that those solutions fit with the customer. But ultimately, we understand that there's a choice. People have got a choice. So, you know, it may not work with their local residents, or it may not be it may be that they come to us because we've got a hangar and nowhere else has got a hangar, but they live somewhere else. So it's all about understanding that kind of priority for them. You know, and then, as you say, creates the picture, the overall jet life, and if we can help with that, then happy days.
Great. We don't have to keep this in, but I'm just kind of curious, what is it like over in Europe when it comes to private aviation? I just kind of I get pictures of like protesters standing on there and like chaining up jets.
I want to piggyback off that too.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, so I'm not very familiar with the regulation that you can educate me, but I saw, for example, I know this is in France. In France and in Spain, I saw they're banning like short haul flights or something, less than like 2.5-hour train ride. How does that, I don't know if it affects the law, does that affect your business in any way for the future? Because I'm not sure if they're pushing for that regulation as well.
I guess from the perspective of if you're an American looking to buy a jet and traveling in Europe, what's the environment like over there?
Yeah, so it's challenging, I think. I mean, we're certainly going through a period of, you know, change and protest. I think that's for sure. It's something people should be aware of. Ultimately, it means you should have a good insurance product, quite frankly, because there are, you know, let's be realistic. There are people out there that kind of, you know, exactly, yeah. I mean, touch wood. In the UK, we've had no issues. I mean, we've had protests.
Hey there, Dave. Tom with Jet Life Aero. Good morning. Happy Friday. Just reaching out. I know you probably get these calls all the time on Whiskey Fox. Not here to waste your time. Just hoping to catch you at the right time, and wanted to see if you're looking to make a change on the Citation 5 this year. I currently have serial number 225 listed for sale on the market. We're just looking for other options for our buyers, also off market. Also looking to bring a few more Citation 5s to the market this summer. So if that's something you've been considering, please call me at your convenience, 941-241-2682. Have a great day.
People understand the benefits of business aviation now. You know,
Here you go. You guys got a voicemail.
I was wondering, like, in the U.S., obviously, I believe most of it are controlled by FAA and like municipalities and stuff. In Europe, is it controlled by?
So So in Europe, so you know, if you appreciate some of the politics, we're kind of out. The UK is outside of Europe now. So the authority in Europe is EASA. The authority in the UK is the CAA, Civil Aviation Authority. So they would be the one that looks at the regulatory point of view from aircraft operations and aircraft registry. So although that's true, yeah. Although you pretty much you can on the charter side, yeah, there's some different things in terms of permit side, but your Part 91 equivalent is that's free open skies, no issue. In terms of the short haul ban, we're unsure of whether that means that certainly on commercial aviation, that's it. We're not sure necessarily if that has rung true for business jet flights and in Paris. Or if you go in Paris to South France, not sure how that impacts internally. Our largest market is Paris and Nice. We do an awful lot of flying there from the UK. Our current government is business aviation. Future government, who knows? There is a tax already, APD, Advanced Passenger Duty, on flying in Europe, flying in the UK, but it's a very small number really in comparison to, I think that's a charter cost rather than a Part 91 price. Again, a management provider would be able to advise what those costs look like, but never say never. You know, I mean, this is the way things are going. However, we recognise Farnborough was designated a business aviation airport because of the amount of traffic that we've received that couldn't be serviced in other airports. So Heathrow, for example, has maybe 20 flights a month, whereas we're operating, maybe 3,000 a month flying out of Farnborough. So, you know, we're dedicated to that area of the market because there's nowhere else in London that can pick up as much. You know, we've got other competing airports. Yeah. So it's one of those things. I mean, the protest side of things is one of those things we live with and we adapt as an industry. It's not going away, so we have to live with it.
Right, but at the same time, you see the business aviation is here to stay. I appreciate what you said there because I think it's reality, and we're all growing together. Like you said, sustainability is a big thing. You know, unmanned aircraft, the drone stuff. I mean, it's all like the future's in the skies. We're here. What's the buzz line for this conference? It's like writing the future in the skies, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, you know, as a business, we're aware, obviously, these protesters. We have business continuity planning, BCP planning around what happens if, dare I say it. We have fantastic relations with the local police force, you know, so we understand that it's a reality of our, of the times we live in, quite frankly. We're not getting away from it, you know, fortunately, unfortunately. It shouldn't, we don't see it as it's putting off individual buyers or charter customers. In fact, the charter market's going for a huge boom because of the fact that people can't get to.
All right, trying to get 3 more. 3 more to 50.
So, you know, from a flexibility point of view, we still are the go-to place for a lot of individuals. You know, as a stat, we fly to 800 destinations annually at Farnborough.
One thing I would point out when making cold calls, sometimes you just like get into like I don't want to do this right now. And that's okay. You got to feel that, you know? And then what I will typically do at that point is I will just start to go like this. So I'll be talking to someone and just like this, that smile, you can just hear it in the voice. Right. And so, that's what you got to do. You know, you just got to push through it, man. And be real. And if you're tired, you can kind of tell them a little bit. You can hey, they get it. They get it. Let's see what we get here. Yeah, hi there. My name is Tom Jet Life. I'm trying to get a hold of Lee, please. And there's the hang up. Literally the hang up. Hung up on. Now, sometimes I'll call back and I'll just be like, hey, sorry, my phone disconnected. I just wondered if Lee's available. Let's do it. Let's see what they go. So that's how it's going to be. Okay.
That's the life, man. Like, I called back and I just said, "Hey, I'm sorry, my phone cut out on me. Like, I was calling for Lee or Bob, whatever his name is," and he just hung up again. So sometimes it's company protocol. That's what they want their guys to do. So, all right. Let's see what's. Oh, gotta go here next. Oh, these guys always fun.
Throw flies to 200. So, you know, if you want to get somewhere in Europe and the wider Africa and, elsewhere else, and you can't get to it commercially, you got to come to us.
Got any football teams hanging out of Farnborough?
Yeah, we have Chelsea football team that's owned by, it's American owned, I believe now. Yeah. So we have a little bit of those guys. Those guys have got a training camp not so far away, so they fly out there. We've got a lounge on the top floor that holds around 50 or 60 people, so we put them through there as well. McLaren Formula One around the corner as well, so we have those guys through. A few of the rugby teams, and we were very honoured to have our king flow out of our farmer recently as well. So yeah, we've got. He either rolls around in a 900 LX or he has a 321 long range VIP. So yeah, maybe not Air Force One, but it's GB Force One. But but they call it ministerial flight, so they use it for the prime minister as well. So it's not just a royal aeroplane; it's kind of used for all suits the same. Yeah. So much to the. It's funny because the rest of Europe has these things. The Germans have loads of stuff, but it seems to be a bit of a point of contention. And people put it in the news when he sees him flying. Our prime minister does a lot of flying. How do you get to spaces really quickly, really efficiently? Take a business airplane.
Oh shoot, that's gonna be a problem. Boom.
Hello and
So,
to the Jet
as you can
Podcast.
see, we got 50 calls down before
What's it like?
12 o'clock. And we even started late. We started at 9:30. So, yeah, 51. So it's doable, guys. It's a lot of voicemails, but that's okay. You're planting seeds. And I'm like talking to you. I'm not even like super hardcore right now. I'm gonna keep going for another 10 minutes or so. Excuse me. These guys just bought in January.
If you haven't already, but you've been joining the channel and enjoying the content, it really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. So let's go over here and take a look. So this is a citation 501.
Says goes by Eric.
Some audio on here, so you'll be able to hear me talking. And
Oh, he bought this from Sheldon.
Let's talk about the inside of a jet. So this is an example of an old Citation 501 that's being torn apart for a phase 1 through 5 inspection, where this is what they do. Every 3 years, they take this whole thing apart to make sure everything's looking all right. So
as you can see here, there's literally nothing. There's no chairs. There's not even a floor. I'm standing on like wood boards that are over. You'll see a little bit later on. But it was a really cool opportunity to be able to see like the inside of the jet when everything's kind of pulled apart.
So quick thing. So here's the radios. Typically, we'll get replaced with the Garmin. Here's like your GPS, your navigation systems. Here's your main indicators that can be replaced by glass with a G600.
Now this whole entire panel can get replaced. So typically, over here's your radios. This is where G750, 650, or 530, 430 will come into place. And those units, those Garmin units, they're full communication radios, their GPS and their navigations, navcoms as well. So it removes a lot of it. So you're gaining a lot of useful load because the instruments are less heavy than these instruments right here. The main indicator can be upgraded with a Garmin G600.
You do.
And you can put it on both sides if you want. And then even the engine gauges, the engine indicators can be.
All right, so I'm going to leave at 11:45. So my goal is going to be to try to get at least 5 more calls in, maybe 10. 10 would be great.
This is what they're talking about.
I would feel good about 10. So let me see if I can make this happen.
More updated technology. Sorry for the interruption. I just had the
Gosh, some of these names I've been going after for years. Since
at VREF, and they are launching their brand new VREF 3.0. VREF is the trusted resource that many lenders will use to provide a valuation on an aircraft. With 3.0, they're introducing a more mobile-friendly interface. You're going to be able to connect with brokers and owners. You're going to be able to get instant valuations. You're going to be able to find out information about aircraft that are currently for sale and historical data as well. Whether you're a broker or a buyer, having access to reliable information when it comes to market trends and it comes to aircraft valuations is extremely important. So if you want to check it out and even get 10% off, you can go to go.theultimatejetguide.com/VREF for more information. Thank you so much, VREF, for sponsoring this video.
You can do it on one side or you can do it on both sides. There's your autopilot here in the middle.
That we're talking down here. Obviously, these are throttles, but the autopilot we'll go over here on this bottom piece over here. And the other thing I would call to your attention, especially in the Citation 501, something called cool sticks. Sometimes attached to
I might need to get a different camera angle.
an air conditioning vent.
That's higher, so when I want to stand,
Now, of course, the pilots do have air conditioning in the cockpit.
I think I can do that. Got some ideas.
Some of the Citations have.
And obviously two pilots.
Oh, real quick, over here, bottom right-hand corner, this is where your Hobbs is. So if you want to find the full airframe time, that's where you're going to look, as a broker going in there. That's where the Hobbs is located.
So what's kind of interesting in this, as we're kind of walking around,
Yeah, okay, this is just
is you can see how this whole plane works. Like these wires, these cables, they all connect to
live streamer problems.
So different controls.
Let's see.
Okay, well either
Who's
if
next?
you're using a server will manipulate these wires and either send electrical signals for stuff to happen or literally move, rudders, ailerons, that sort of a thing. So you can kind of see how the plane works. So when something's wrong with it,
Okay, not for
so
sale.
it kind of becomes an even bigger deal.
Venezuela.
So this is the lavatory section. You can see a lot of the wires that are there and everything that's kind of involved. Air conditioning, and it's just really cool.
Real quick on the lavatory area, just so you see, especially in these light jets, there's no plumbing here. So even if it says flushing lab, all it really means is that there's a little bit of blue liquid and there's a mechanism that when you press it down, it pushes liquid and it pushes the waste down to the bottom into a honey pot. And then the pilot will have to, take the honey pot out from here, walk through the cabin, and then empty it out the front. That's what your lavatory is like, in the Citation. So just want to call your attention to like the realities of a lab.
The wires that are there and everything that's kind of involved, air conditioning, and it's just really cool. Here's another good example of how windows are going to work. So this is the finished version, right, where this is all kind of covering it. Then you take that out, you see you got one layer, and I believe there's 2 more layers on the windows. So you've got this that you see, you've got your windshield too, and then there's obviously the window on the very end, and I think there's one more in between. But this can kind of, so when you see spots and stuff, it might just be the interior, but we're looking for like delamination, we're looking for bubbles. That's going to show signs of wear that they might need to be replaced. Let's see if we got anything up here. These windows look actually pretty good.
It's just dirty.
And there's tolerances, right? So, you may have like little tiny bubbles like this here, but there's tolerances, so it doesn't necessarily have to be replaced right away. And so that's kind of where negotiations start to happen. Again, here we have the emergency door.
With regards to the tolerances, yes, negotiations, but it's also where airworthy and unairworthy come into play. So all the maintenance manuals have specific tolerances that'll say like, well, if it's this big of a crack, you're okay. If it's this big, unairworthy. So, when you put it into a contract that the seller has to fix all airworthiness squawks, this is kind of what we're dealing with here.
And what's interesting is if it's on the line, like just about to become unairworthy, that's where buyers might be like, hey, dude, you need to fix this because it's going to be a problem in the future. And then some sellers within their rights, they can say, no, I'm not going to fix it because it's not airworthy. That's what I mean by negotiations.
Normally, you're not going to be able to see this. You guys hear everything okay?
But it's pretty cool. And you're just
I have some
checking
people
for
telling me that they
corrosion,
can't hear the
you know, in all
video.
this. The door seal, we want to make sure this.
I just think that they're not used to.
That's huge, especially in the older citations.
Oh shoot, that was
the door
Bob.
seals,
Ah,
sometimes there's
that's
something
funny.
that it doesn't allow it to pressurize appropriately. Also, fun fact: when you're in a private jet and if you're looking at the door, sometimes you see a little bit of space between the door and the hull. That's okay. That's there by design. Don't worry, the plane's not going to depressurize if you fall out of the sky. You know, for pressurization, we've got the cabin door. You know, you can kind of see. You know, there's the ball. That ball goes in here and it locks it in, and that's kind of the operations of it. And so let's take a look around here. You know, when you're doing a pre-buy via FaceTime, you want some big items to check the boots. So these boots are dirty, but they're what you would see if it was bad is you'd see patches, these small little black like sticker patches, and you would see rust and that sort of thing. But these boots are in decent shape, just kind of dirty. And the one thing you definitely want to do is you want to look underneath. So as you come underneath, this looks, you know, okay. But you want to see, you'll see sometimes it's this tape that connects the boots to the wing. It starts to rip, kind of like this. You see it and it starts to come apart. And so you just want to be aware of that. You definitely want to take a look under here by the wheels. And so now we're going to see our first signs of like corrosion here. You have a better view of it on the other side, but you know, this is the rust, this is the corrosion that we want to be aware of. And you know, it's on the discs here. So these are all parts that you're going to have to take a look at. You got some paint and stuff coming off. That could be from fluid leaks, hydraulic fluid leaks, and it starts to rub off on the paint, and that becomes an issue. So we want to look up here and see: are we working with dirty?
All right, let's keep rolling along.
Super clean? Are we working with corrosion? And this shows kind of the attention to detail that Berg's getting when it's getting clean. Yeah, just to be clear, and I'm kind of explaining this right now, but you know, when you come in here, if there's like a bunch of dirt in here, it's like, okay, when's the last time y'all cleaned under here, or did you just spray the top of the jet? It shows a level of care and
Oh yeah, I saw this one.
given or not given to the bird and taken care of. So these are very important things to kind of check out. Let's see over here. We've got, you know, under the belly. It's not the easiest to get to, but this is very common, especially on the birds. You know, you get system leaks, hydraulic leaks, and they start to eat away at the paint. Let's look. And just to be clear, the level of paint being worn away shows that, you know, this was an issue that was not taken care of over the course of many weeks, many months. Like the SkyDraw, the material that's leaking there does not just peel it off like right away. So again, showing the attention to detail with the aircraft. Over here. So here we have the nose baggage area, which we can look up. This is the radome, and if you were to take this off, you'd see all of the. Okay, thank you. You would see all of the avionics that go into the aircraft. We'll see that in a moment when I open up this compartment over here. But basically, this is where the instruments reside, and the sensors kind of pull from here, and then from the sensors it goes to the instrument, from the instrument itself to the cockpit. They're usually, you know, they're housed here, and then they report to the cockpit. And again, like we said, let's see if we can open up. So here's the nose. So usually it'll be, you wouldn't see this; it would be finished. But you'll see, like, here's all your different things along the lines of nitrogen and oxygen levels there as well for the mask. So need oxygen masks in the cockpit in case you lose pressurization. You'll be able to check your oxygen levels here. It's part of the pre-buy. I'm sorry, it's part of the pre-flight for pilots. There's your avionics, so they go in the nose, and so your radios and your navigations, all that kind of stuff is there. Again, for a pre-buy, we want to take a look at the wheel wells. Check this over here if we show any signs of corrosion.
And we're looking at here, we have an example of a repair. So a repair was done here. You know, you see the paint's different, obviously. And
Fun fact, that damage was someone not using the appropriate equipment to raise up the jet. They didn't use a proper jack, and it literally just punctured a hole in this nose section where they needed to replace the panel. And when that happens, it's kind of a big deal. They got to replace the panel. Then they have to have someone from the FAA, a DAR, come on down and basically confirm that this is an airworthy aircraft based on the repair that was done. So at this point, what's interesting is the aircraft hadn't flown since the repair. So that's something that the buyer had to keep in mind, you know, when they were purchasing it. It's like, hey, you're buying this and you know, it's been signed off on, but it hasn't been flown yet.
And we just want to find out what the story was there. And
this is an emergency door, so it's like you hardly ever see it off. So,
you know, see how we want to take care of that. Again, with the windows, we want to take a look at, you know, if we have any bubbles or anything popping up, show signs of delamination. The wings, again, you know,
Ooh,
look solid.
personalized
Good
hold
chip,
music.
a little bit aware, but again, it's an older airplane. Here's something, you know, we want to see. Here's the corrosion on the fuel cap that we want to be aware of. And look, listen, this.
The other thing I want to point out here is I went to a bird recently, and right over here, the rivets were all replaced because it had recently gone through an inspection. And so that's another sign, like check the rivets. Are they old? Are they corroded and rusted, just like you saw on the fuel cap above there? Little tiny things, right? And again, you're not a mechanic. I'm not trying to train you how to do a pre-buy. I'm just showing you, you know, things that I look for, you know, just kind of as a cursory thing that I'm going to want a mechanic. I'm going to have a mechanic go back and be like, hey, dude, I saw this. Can you double check it? Hey, I saw, you know, some corrosion on the wheels and the discs, you know, double check that. I saw the windows showed signs of delamination and some cracking. Can you check that? You know, that sort of thing.
Thing's old. It's fine. It's kind of par for the course. We're showing signs of corrosion over here. You know, I sell these all the time. So you just got to find the right buyer that kind of knows what they're getting themselves into, and it has a strong stomach for this kind of stuff. But
that's important. You know, doing the pre-buy, the point isn't to find a perfect aircraft doing a pre-buy. Doing a pre-buy, it's to determine the condition of the aircraft that you're looking at and determine if you have the stomach for it or not. I saw a lot of these older birds and a lot of these birds that need repair, that need help. The buyers buy them, they fix them up, they fly them around, and then they sell them, you know, a couple of years later, and they're good machines. So, you know, just you want to know what you're getting yourself into, and that's the purpose of a pre-buy.
they can be made safe. They can be made flight ready. Here's, yeah, we see a lot more corrosion going on here. Up here again, we got some Skydra leaks. Okay. I'm gonna scoop
And
under.
all you, any trolls or people like, I'm pretty sure this is Skydroll. If it's not, let me know in the comments. Like, again, I'm not a mechanic, so I'm open to people, you know, saying what they think is going on with this bird.
Here. Again, taking a look under the belly, taking a look in the well, seeing how well it's being cared.
See, this is kind of like it's an indicator, right? It's like, come on, we got to clean this.
For. You know, again, showing signs of the environment that it hangs out in.
This one was not hangared, in case you couldn't tell already.
Right. Is it parked on the ramp or parked in hangar? Again, you're seeing signs of, you know, just liquid that's kind of wearing away. Example of more corrosion up here. You see how it starts to like wear away at the paint. And if you're, you know, this plane is more taken apart than most because it's in the middle of an inspection. But you know, if you're fortunate enough to be checking it out, you can see a lot of things. We got
2 more minutes and then we're wrapping it up for a little bit.
take a look at the engines. You can see some of the
Got an
leaks back there.
appointment, and
With your
then
eye, you can take a look and see if there's any cracks, dents, or chips.
That brick, I believe, was just there to hold on to these silicone packets to keep the area free of moisture. So that's what's going on there.
It's in there. Obviously, we use a borescope so we can see even further down in there.
Yeah, sometimes you can see stuff in there. You know, you can see the blades, maybe some chipping or pitting or corrosion, you know, just on the inside.
Syracuse.
Inside.
Holy.
Closer look at the actual components of the engines
there. That's very important. These baggies that you see hanging, these just contain rivets.
screws, so they don't lose them. So they just kind of hang them in the piece that they belong to. So
Lee, please. Oh, you know what? I think I called the wrong number. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Kind of a part for inspection. Oh, I forgot about this. Here's the aft baggage. So sometimes this is finished, so you can put cargo in here. Sometimes it's not, and we call this the hellhole. Now, normally the battery is right here, so you can plug the battery in, or usually it's disconnected when it's parked. But this is another place that you want to look and see what it looks like, and get under things, and this just kind of makes you a more knowledgeable broker to know what to look for, where to go. And you're not a mechanic, but you know some basic stuff. And I hope that's this is all helpful for you guys. We'll catch you later. All right. So yeah, that was pretty much going through a pre-buy. Like I mentioned, whether you're a buyer or a broker, I think these are some things to kind of take a look for, just to be knowledgeable. Again, you don't have to be a mechanic. You don't have to have the full picture of everything. But now that you kind of know what to look for, it can help you be better informed when your mechanic comes back and says this, and this is wrong with it. Or you can ask them like, hey, did you check for corrosion? Did you check for a leak? Oh, by the way, the potty, the lavatory area is a spot where there's some corrosion. Anywhere there's usually liquid, so that's a spot to check. Did they check the windows? So
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be hopping out today for a little bit. Oh, yeah, sure. We got, sorry, I'm just seeing this. Oh, cool. All right. Real quick, would it be possible a brief call meeting? Greatly appreciate it. Yes, absolutely. So if you want to find out more information, go to theultimatejetguide.com. Go to theultimatejetguide.com. And there you'll be able to find, how to get in touch with me, how to schedule a call, how to get started as a broker. It's all there. So let me see if this works. Go to the Ultimate Jet Guide, theultimatejetguide.com, and we answer all your questions there. All right. Thanks a lot for joining me today, guys. I'll be back later on because they are going to try to hit 100 calls, and we'll see what we can do. Catch you later.